Chapter 91. Yanagi stood in front of the third Hokage's office door, took a deep breath, and gently pushed the door open. Inside the office, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen was sitting at his desk, staring out the window with deep eyes. The pipe in his hand had long since lost its temperature. With a barely perceptible sense of depression, Yanagi slowly walked to the table, his voice a little heavy. "Uncle Sande, you called me here because of Grandma Mito's health condition, right?" Sarutobi Hiruzen turned around and said, "You guessed right. Lord Mito's body can no longer bear the power of the Nine Tails. So after the village's consideration, we agree with Lord Mito's previous suggestion and let you become the new Nine Tails Jinchuriki." Yanagi raised his head and looked directly into Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes. "Uncle Sandame, tell me honestly. Is Mito-san's health really at a point where it cannot be saved, or is Mito-san and the village looking for a more stable transitional Jinchuriki, so she is ready to end her life early?" Sarutobi Hiruzen was slightly stunned, then put down the pipe in his hand. His expression became extremely serious. He looked at Yanagi, with a hint of heaviness in his voice. "I can't hide it from you after all. Yes, Lady Mito's body is far from reaching its limit. Even after hearing that I agreed to you becoming the Nine Tails Jinchuriki, her body has actually improved to a certain extent. But she insisted on sealing the Nine Tails into your body while her body was still good." Yanagi was silent for a moment, then slowly spoke, with a request in his words. "I will do the Nine Tails Jinchuriki, but I want to meet with Grandma Mito first." Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. "This is as it should be. Mito-sama is already waiting for you in the barrier." Yanagi took a deep breath and continued, "Uncle Sande, what I mean is that I want to be alone with Grandma Mito for a while. I have something I want to tell her alone." Sarutobi Hiruzen stared deeply at the boy in front of him for a long time, and after a long period of hesitation and struggle, he finally chose to believe him. "Okay, I will take the others to wait outside for a while, but not too long. I hope you can understand. After all, the power of the tailed beast will never allow any problems to occur near the village." "Thank you, Uncle Sande." Yanagi bowed deeply to Sarutobi Hiruzen to express his gratitude. Although he did not have any special feelings towards the third Hokage was actually quite good to him. Especially since Grandma Mito taught the third Hokage a lesson, he seemed to have really found his original intention, and his attitude towards handling village affairs has also changed significantly. Within the barrier, Grandma Mito sat there quietly, her eyes revealing a depth and calmness, the peace that comes from having seen through the cycle of life and death. Yanagi walked into the barrier and said softly, "Grandma Mito, I'm here." Grandma Mito smiled slightly, as gentle as usual, but her words were still weak. "Yanagi, I knew you would come." Mito, who was very familiar with Yanagi, knew that he would definitely be able to guess the truth, and the fact that he had come down now meant that he had basically accepted it. "Granny Mito, we can wait for a while. Tsunade and Nawaka don't know your situation, and they can't even see you for the last time. Isn't it too cruel for them? Just give me some time, and I will end this war completely." Grandma Mito smiled and shook her head. Her smile revealed a kind of detachment and relief. "Child, there is no need. Separation and death are the norm. Compared to others, I have enjoyed a lot. Tsunade has known about my situation for a long time." "Mito Grandma, actually." Yanagi looked at Mito, who was determined to die, thinking about the last clue that might save Mito. "In fact, I found that Uchiha Madara might still be alive." "Madara? How is that possible?" "His death was confirmed by Hashirama and Tobirama." When Mito heard this familiar name, all that flashed through his mind were the times he spent with the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, although Hashirama mentioned Madara much more often than he mentioned himself. "It's true. I suspect he escaped death through the Uchiha clan's Izanagi." "Izanagi?" "Yes, it is a forbidden technique of the Uchiha clan. It can use a Sharingan as a price to make the reality that is unfavorable to oneself become unreal, and only choose the things that are beneficial to oneself to become reality." "How do you know Uchiha forbidden techniques?" Grandma Mito's doubts deepened. I found it in Tobirama-sama's lab notes. He did see a lot of Uchiha clan techniques in the notes of the second Hokage, Senju Tobirama, as well as a lot of research on the Sharingan, and even research notes on wood release, but there was no research on Izanagi, otherwise Tobirama would not have left so confidently." "This Tobirama?" Mito remembered that Hashirama often talked about Tobirama's research when he was alive. Yanagi looked at Grandma Mito and continued, "Grandma Mito, if Madara is really still alive, it would be more beneficial for us if you were alive, right? But I have a solution for the tailed beasts. All it will take is for a portion of the nine tails chakra to remain in your body. That should be enough to keep you alive. Lord Mito. The sealing ceremony is ready. The voice of the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen came through the barrier of the barrier. He had done his best as a junior and an elder by his side, and now he could only make the most rational decision for the safety of the entire village as Hokage. Although it is said that wood-release ninjutsu can easily restrain the power of the tailed beasts, no one dares to rashly gamble the fate of the entire village when facing a powerful being like the Nine Tails, and Yanagishita is not Lord Hashirama after all. The location of the sealing ceremony was carefully considered. Although it was not set in the center of the village for safety reasons, it was not far away to ensure a quick response in an emergency. Once the power of the Nine Tails gets out of control, even a single attack with the tailed beast ball would be a devastating disaster for the village. Well, get started, monkey. Deploy the barrier. Yes. Asterisk 4. 4 people wearing different masks disappeared from the spot and landed in different directions. The chakra on their bodies began to rise and surged into their palms like a tide. At this moment, the power of the 4 senior ninjas gathered into a powerful force. Inside the large barrier, a more sophisticated barrier appeared. A rectangular barrier of purple transparent flame slowly rose up, like a mysterious barrier, surrounding the third Hokage, Yanagi, and others. The barrier array is attached with purple flames. These flames are not only beautiful, but also contain powerful power. They jump on the barrier, emitting a mysterious and powerful aura. The 4 purple flame formation is an advanced barrier that requires the joint efforts of 4 jonin to cast. Its existence is to ensure the absolute safety of the sealing ceremony. Chapter 92. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen turned his head to look at Yanagi, noticed the solemn look on his face, and felt a little understanding in his heart. He thought Yanagi was shocked by the powerful barrier technique, so he gently explained, "Yanagi, don't be nervous. This is the 4 purple flame formation, one of the most powerful barriers in our village. With it, we can ensure that the sealing ceremony goes smoothly without any interference from the outside world." "Thank you, Uncle Sande. How's it going, Yanagi, are you ready?" After Sarutobi Hiruzen personally arranged some preventive measures around him, he turned his gaze to Yanagi beside him. Yanagi nodded to Sarutobi Hiruzen, "Uncle Sandame, I have something to tell you." So. My Lord Mito is offended." As Sarutobi Hiruzen moved, a huge dark red chakra emerged from Uzumaki Mito's body, like a surging wave, and began to violently impact everything around it. Although this power was only an unconscious chakra ball, everyone present seemed to hear a shocking beast roar. Roar. This sound, full of wildness and indomitable spirit, was the roar of the Nine Tails chakra. Its dormant power within Uzumaki Mito's body was awakened, and it began to struggle to break free from its restraints. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen's techniques changed again and again, his movements were so swift and precise that it was dazzling to watch. With his superb ninjutsu skills, he forcibly drew the chakra from Mito's body and directed it to Yanagi, who was sitting quietly beside him. Fine beads of sweat had already seeped out of his forehead, but the determination and focus in his eyes had never wavered in the slightest. Damn humans! As the chakra emerged faster and faster, the nine-tailed fox's consciousness finally appeared, and its voice echoed within the barrier with unimaginable majesty and anger. The power of the nine-tailed fox, even in this situation, is still terrifyingly strong. Here comes the tricky part. The third Hokage looked at the small nine tails in front of him and secretly cheered himself up. He knew that every next step would be crucial. He must be extremely careful. As long as he can get through this hurdle, the sealing ceremony will be successful. The purple flames within the barrier began to fluctuate under the influence of the nine-tailed fox's consciousness, but the stability of the four purple flame formation was not shaken. The combined efforts of the four elite jonin ensured that the barrier was unbreakable. Even cage-level strong men could only sigh at the barrier, and the nine tails, which was not in its complete form, was completely helpless. Yanagi sat in the center of the barrier, his body began to feel the impact of the nine tails chakra, but there was no fluctuation on his face. In fact, this little bit of chakra was just a drop in the bucket for him, no big deal. I will never allow it. The nine tails roar echoed within the barrier, and its chakra was like a raging storm as it began its final struggle. Chakra fluctuations that were stronger than the last were once again rising within the barrier. Under the continuous impact, even the barrier wall of the four purple flame formation began to show tiny cracks. Seeing this, the four Jonin could only push themselves once again and try their best to fill the gap in the barrier. What a huge amount of chakra! It seems that I have underestimated the Nine Tails and shouldn't have left the other elders with me. The third Hokage's heart tightened, and beads of sweat began to pour out of his forehead like mushrooms after rain. For the sake of safety this time, he did not summon other elders such as Utane Koharu and Mito Kado-en, and at this moment he couldn't help but feel a little regretful. Nine Tails, don't even think about causing trouble in the ninja world before I leave. Seeing that Sarutobi Hiruzen was beginning to barely hold on in the face of the Nine Tails chakra, Grandma Mito ignored her own physical limits and took action herself. Several sealing chains extended from behind her, wrapping around her quickly like spirit snakes, locking the nine-tailed fox's chakra tightly and transmitting it into Yanagi's body. Although Uzumaki Mito's power is not as strong as it was at its peak, her sealing chains still tightly locked the Nine Tails chakra and its violent will, making the Nine Tails struggle futile. Everything the old man said was a lie. Humans are simply despicable beings. Following Mito's attack, the nine-tailed fox was completely unable to move and could only be stuffed into Yanagi's body with resentment in its heart. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt relieved. Now they had completely entered the final stage. All that remained was to see if what Yanagi said could really be realized. As time passed, the chakra emerging from Grandma Mito's body began to gradually weaken, like the tide slowly receding, taking away the violent power and leaving behind a tranquility. Mito-san. You can stop now. As Yanagi observed this scene, he had an inexplicable premonition in his heart. He thought that Grandma Mito might have forgotten that the sealing ceremony was almost over, so he reminded her softly. But Grandma Mito just shook her head gently, her eyes revealing a deep peace, and she gave Yanagi a kind smile. No need, Yanagi. I feel relieved that Konoha and Senju have you. I believe you can handle the affairs of the ninja world. There was a hint of relief in her voice, as if she had seen Yanagi's future. Hashirama has been waiting for me for a long time. I used to worry about Nawaki and Tsunade, but now they are all grown up, and it's time to meet Hashirama. Monkey, remember not to let power cloud your heart. Go, and complete the final steps for this ceremony. Mito Grandma. There was a slight tremor in Yanagi's voice as he watched Grandma Mito's figure gradually become blurred. Mito-sama, I will keep your teachings in mind. As the last trace of the tailed beast's chakra flew from Mito's grandmother's body into Yanagi's abdomen, the light in Uzumaki Mito's eyes gradually dimmed, like stars disappearing in the night sky. 4-symbol seal. Following a low shout from Sarutobi Hiruzen, a large number of mysterious and ancient runes appeared on Yanagi's abdomen. They flowed like living things, firmly imprisoning the Nine Tails chakra scattered inside the body. Humph! Even someone with great strength like Yanagi couldn't help but let out a dull groan when he was hit by this huge amount of chakra. It is finally over. There was a hint of fatigue in the voice of the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, and his body was soaked with sweat. A huge project like sealing the nine-tailed fox is indeed not easy. Every detail needs to be precisely controlled and every step is full of risks. The four jonin inside the barrier also breathed a sigh of relief. Their chakra was almost exhausted, but when they saw that the seal was successful, smiles of relief appeared on their faces. The purple flames of the four purple flame formation gradually died out, symbolizing the successful completion of the sealing ceremony. Mito Grandma. There was no joy in Yanagi's heart. Another person who cared about him passed away before his eyes. Grandpa Taiki and Grandma Mito hope that you can find Lord Hashirama and others in the Pure Land as soon as possible. The glory of the Senju and the safety of Konoha are left to me. Sooner or later, I will let you see a truly peaceful ninja world and a reborn Senju. Ding! The host has completed the achievement becoming a Jinkraki, please check the reward. Chapter 93. Tick. 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 This is the sealed space of the nine-tailed fox, why is it still like this here? No wonder the nine-tailed fox always looks like it's in menopause. Anyone who is locked up here every day will be in a bad mood. In the darkness of the sealed space, the sound of dripping water echoed. After Yanagi dealt with Mito's funeral, he entered his own inner world. It's time to meet Nine-Tailed Fox, and by the way, you can try the reward from the system. This reward is like someone giving you a pillow when you are sleepy. Yanagi explored along the violent and conspicuous chakra of the Nine Tails, and soon came to the huge cage that suppressed the Nine Tails. A cage made of wood release came into view, with a piece of paper with the word seal written on it stuck in the middle. Is this the real-life nine-tailed fox? It looks pretty good. The first time Yanagi saw the nine-tailed fox in person, its huge body was almost the same as he had imagined. One of its claws was even bigger than him, and the chakra on its body gave people a violent and evil feeling. The nine-tailed fox noticed Yanagi's arrival and suddenly opened his eyes. His huge scarlet eyes stared at Yanagi, and he let out an angry roar. Violent chakra erupted in the sealed space. Hey! Little devil, I'm going to kill you. The nine-tailed fox's voice was full of anger and threats. It looked at Yanagi in front of it and thought that as long as it killed him, it would be free again. But no matter how terrifying the nine-tailed fox's roar was, it could not penetrate those seemingly simple wooden cages. Yanagi responded calmly, Kurama, be quiet, your impotent rage will only make you look even more powerless. Kyuubi was shocked when he heard the familiar name. How on earth did you know that name? Yanagi smiled slightly, feeling secretly proud in his heart. Sure enough, this name was the fastest way to make Kyuubi listen to you. Yanagi smiled secretly. Sure enough, if you want to make Kyuubi listen to you, this name is the fastest way. Hey, little brat, tell me. How did you know this name? There was a hint of urgency in Kyuubi's roar. Yanagi shrugged easily, as if he was enjoying the feeling of being in control of the situation. Oh, sorry, Big Fox, I was just in a daze. If you want to know the answer, it's very simple. If you beat me, I will tell you, how about it? Nine-tailed fox thought it was hallucinating. It even scratched its ears with its big claws, not daring to believe its hearing. There is such a good thing? Where did Konoha find this stupid Jinkra key? When Joe heard what Yanagi said, he was surprised and amused. He didn't expect Yanagi to put forward such a condition, which made him a little interested in Yanagi. Big Fox, whether you agree or not, just say something. If you don't, I'll leave. I don't know when I'll remember it next time. Yanagi said with a hint of joking, watching the funny movements of Kyuubi, the corners of his mouth rose unconsciously. A big fox made so many complicated expressions in front of him, and dug its ears with its big paws. This scene was really interesting. Hey, kid, I agree, quickly remove the seal. When Nine-tailed Fox heard that good things were about to happen, it quickly agreed. It seemed that it had seen the days of freedom beckoning towards it. Yanagi stretched out his index finger and shook it, smiling slyly, do you think I'm stupid? Unlock the seal and go outside to cause damage? I don't have that much money to pay for it. Joey's tone was cold, and he laughed in anger, boy, are you kidding me? How can I fight you if I don't go out? Otherwise, come in. Yes, you can't go out, but I can go in. Big Fox, let me tell you, I have 9 ways to control you. 9 ways? Just you. A trace of contempt flashed in the eyes of the nine-tailed fox. It didn't think that Yanagi could pose any threat to it. After confirming the look in his eyes, Yanagi knew that the new landlord in front of him was definitely a fool. During the seemingly endless years of the Nine Tails, countless talented people in the ninja world have tried to challenge it, eager to gain fame and power by defeating this legendary tailed beast. However, there are very few opponents that can truly pose a threat to it. In Kyuubi's memory, only a few strong men who occasionally appeared among the descendants who inherited the blood of the old man Liudeo were qualified to compete with it. Most of these strong men came from several special families, the Uzumaki clan, the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan. I, Nine Tails, am the boss in the ninja world. I can punch the 5 cage and kick the 8-tailed beast with ease. Nine Tails' voice was full of confidence and arrogance. Come in. I will teach you a lesson today. Nine-tailed fox said provocatively, and it seemed that it could not wait to teach Lu a lesson. For Yanagi, who had already studied the sealing technique, the seal in front of him was nothing but air. He ignored the cage and stepped into it. Yanagi stopped, looked up at the huge nine-tailed fox and smiled, Kurama, you didn't attack by surprise, you are quite graceful. However, be prepared to be beaten. Joey looked at the little guy Yanagi with disdain, little devil, since you are going to let me out today, I will let you make the first move. Oh? Then I won't be polite. As Yanagi finished speaking, his body was surrounded by emerald green chakra. This chakra was like a fountain of life, full of vitality and vigor. Immediately afterwards, a phantom emerged from Yanagi's body and began to materialize. From the initial skeleton to the meridians and muscle texture, every detail was clearly visible. Finally, a complete giant rose from the ground in the cage, clad in armor and fully armed. The nine-tailed fox stared at the strange patterns in Yanagi's eyes, which were the same scarlet color as its own, with a look of shock. Susanoo? Are you from the Uchiha clan? There was a hint of trembling in its voice, and it was obvious that it felt unprecedentedly threatened by this power. It was also the first time for Yanagi to use this power while being inside Susanoo, but after the system rewarded him with the Mangekyo that would never make him blind, he had already mastered the use of Susanoo. His voice echoed within the seal, "Excuse me, I am from the Senju clan. My name is Yanagi, your future master." "Are you kidding me? How can the Senju clan have such eyes? What do you care about me? Do you want to fight or not?" "Humph, even if you master Susanoo, don't think of subduing me easily." The nine-tailed fox roared, and its chakra began to wreak havoc in the sealed space. Boom! Boom! The battle became intense from the very beginning. After being taught by teacher Nine Tails, Yanagi, who was operating Susanoo for the first time, improved his operation level sharply. In the end, he pinned Nine Tails in a cage and beat him up. Looking at the Nine Tails that was being pinned down by his complete form of Susanoo, Yanagi asked, "How is it, do you accept it? Aren't you from the Senju clan? If you have the ability, don't use the power of the Uchiha clan." Kyuubi expressed his grievance. He never thought that one day he would be beaten by the descendants of the Senju clan using the Uchiha clan's Susanoo. Chapter 94. Aren't you from the Senju clan? If you have the guts, don't use the power of the Uchiha clan. If you don't use this and beat me again, I will be completely convinced. You said it. Keep your word. When Yanagi heard what Joey said, he secretly laughed in his heart. He immediately released Susanoo, and the Mangeki Sharingan in his eyes returned to its normal state. This is a rare opportunity. In the ninja world, it is not easy to find an opponent as powerful as the Nine Tails. He still needs more practical experience to improve his abilities. After helping me improve my proficiency in Susanoo, he also gave me a reason to help me master wood release. I am so touched. Teacher Goodako was so good to me. The Nine Tails was also calculating in his mind. Although the Uchiha's Mangeki was rare, he had actually seen quite a few of them. However, he had only seen one person use the Senju clan's special bloodline limit, wood release. That was the outrageous one, Hashirama Senju, who opened the door for the outrageous. Kyuubi thought to himself that Yanagi, as a half-blood, could not have the wood escape power like Hashirama. "Come on, little brat, let me show you the power of the strongest tailed beast." The nine-tailed fox roared arrogantly and confidently, believing that its power was unmatched. The old man's partiality was the reason why this nine-tailed fox became the strongest. However, the next moment, Kyuubi saw a strange pattern that looked like an eye but was not an eye appear on Yanagi's forehead, and faint eye shadow appeared at the corners of his eyes. He clasped his hands together, and a powerful chakra began to gather in his body. Senjutsu. Wood release. True Thousand Hands. As Joey was shocked, a bodhisattva statue larger than a mountain began to grow from under Yanagi's feet. This wooden Buddha statue had countless hands, and the entire statue was full of power and life. This is... The nine-tailed fox watched the Buddha statue come into being from nothing, and an unprecedented shock surged in its heart. And the tiny thing under the willow tree on top of the tree, which used to be visible only when looking down, became a tiny thing that he could only vaguely see by looking up. The Nine Tails should have tried to stop all this, but when it saw this ninjutsu, its mind involuntarily emerged with the countless giant hands that it saw when it woke up again after being forced to sign a contract with Uchiha Madara that day. It was a deep fear and a reverence for power. "Hey, kid, forget it. I'm not feeling well today. Let's make an appointment another day." When the Nine Tails saw the final formation of the real Thousand Hands, it decisively chose to play cowardly. What kind of fight is this? Is the ninja world full of perverts now? Kurama. I'm sorry, since it's so rare to use this move, just enjoy it. Immortal technique. Wood release. True Thousand Hands. Buddha on the head. Yanagi didn't want to give up this rare opportunity to practice, so he controlled the thousand-armed Buddha under him and extended countless huge wooden fists from behind, which suddenly smashed towards the nine-tailed fox. Have you ever seen a fist as big as a mountain? The power of this move was so great that Yanagi didn't dare to use it in the wet bone forest, otherwise he was afraid that the wet bone forest would be destroyed by his one move. Senju Hashirama once used this move to resolve the strongest combination of Uchiha Madara and the Nine Tails, and blew up the powerful Susanoo armor. The huge destructive power created the Valley of the End. When Jiwei was beaten by the Buddha, only one sentence kept echoing in his mind, Jiwei, you are too dangerous, so I have to seal you. Where exactly am I in danger? These ninjas are the real perverts. I am running freely in the forest. That is the youth of the tailed beasts. The result was that he was glared at by someone, beaten up by someone else, and finally sealed away because he was said to be too dangerous. After finally getting rid of those two perverts, there comes a new one that combines their power, and it's his own Jinkriki. Old man, why don't you just take me back? The Nine Tails wailed in his heart. He felt that the ninja world was too dangerous and longed to return to that carefree place. For it, the ninja world has changed from a paradise to a cage full of dangers. Being beaten and going to jail, the fox doesn't want to live anymore. Kyuubi lay on the ground, not wanting to pay any attention to Yanagi at all, feeling exhausted. Looking at the autistic Nine Tails, Yanagi scratched his head embarrassedly, Kurama, I'm sorry, I finally got the chance to use wood release, and I had so much fun with it, haha, ha ha ha. There was a hint of embarrassment and apology in his laughter. Sorry, how about this, as long as you cooperate with me honestly, as compensation and reward, I can let some of your chakra move in the outside world, how about it? Yanagi looked at the nine-tailed fox, which was lying completely flat on its back, and began to throw out the bait. Really? When Kyuubi heard that he could go out, his originally depressed spirits immediately perked up. Yanagi nodded and said seriously, of course it's true. However, you have to promise not to cause damage or harm innocent people. When I need your strength, you need to help me. You are so strong, why do you still need my strength? The nine-tailed fox looked doubtful. Its strength was one of the best in the ninja world, but compared with the young ninja in front of it, it seemed insignificant. Kurama, the ninja world actually hides many unknown dangers, Yanagi said seriously, for example, I got news that someone tried to revive the 10 tails. What? The nine-tailed fox was so shocked that it could not express itself in words. It felt that it had been shocked more in this day than in most of its life. The name 10-tailed fox was both familiar and strange to it, full of fear and uneasiness. Yanagi looked at the nine tails seriously and said, you should know more about the power of the 10 tails than I do. After all, if you want to revive the 10 tails, the power of your tailed beasts is indispensable. How do you know this? Well, this is a long story about a child without a mother. Anyway, let's bump fists, and then you'll know everything. Yanagi said, stretching out his fist. Well, that's it anyway. Kyuubi also held out his hand. In the silent spiritual space, two fists, one big and one small, touched each other, and the blue and red chakras intersected with each other. At this moment, no words were needed. Mt Miyamu. Jiraiya complained about being summoned to Miyaboka Mountain suddenly, boss, why are you in such a hurry? We are still in a standoff with Tsunagakuer. Why did you summon me here without asking? Fukasaku Sage suddenly appeared above Jiraiya's head and knocked him on the head, I'm in such a hurry to find you, of course it's because of something very important. Jiraiya rubbed his dizzy head, but his strength was still a little less than Tsunade's, what's the important matter? Isn't it another new meal trial? Shenron Fukasaku shook his head, his expression becoming serious, I don't know the details, but this time he is not looking for you to taste the child's mother's new feast, but the master has woken up, and he wants to summon you. Jiraiya's expression immediately became serious, he knew that the big master referred to the Great Toad Sage. Whenever the Great Toad Immortal summoned someone personally, it usually meant that something big was about to happen. He recalled that the last time the Great Toad Sage summoned him in a hurry was because of the prophecy about the Son of Prophecy. According to the prophecy of the Great Toad Sage, the future of the ninja world will face a huge change, and the key figure leading this change is the Son of Prophecy in the prophecy. Chapter 95. Jiraiya quickly followed the sage Fukasaku and came before the Great Toad Sage. The skin of the giant toad immortal is orange all over, with a pair of yellow eyes revealed under his half-open eyelids. A string of Buddhist beads hung around his thick neck, with a lavender cat's eye in the middle and the word oil engraved on it. Wearing a doctoral hat on his head, he was dozing off, as if immersed in his own world. Seeing this, Fukasaku jumped in front of the Great Master, knowing that if the Great Master fell asleep, it would be difficult to wake him up. He shouted, Great Master, wake up! Jiraiya is here. The big toad sage slowly opened his eyes, with a hint of confusion, where is little Jiraiya? Jiraiya hurried forward, with a hint of respect and eagerness. Great sage, I'm here. Little Jiraiya. The great toad sage looked as if he had suddenly realized something, and said to Jiraiya with a smile, Little Jiraiya, you have grown up. Seeing that the master had started his daily boring routine again, Fukasaku-sen knew that if he didn't stop the topic, he didn't know where it would go, so he quickly interrupted the two of them and said, Master, you called Jiraiya here this time, didn't you have something important to tell him? When Jiraiya heard this, he immediately looked at the Great Immortal with expectation. Great Immortal, do you have any new prophecy about the Child of Prophecy? The Great Toad Sage shook his head, his eyes revealing a hint of seriousness. No, little Jiraiya, this time it's not about the news of the Child of Prophecy. When Jiraiya heard that he was not the Child of Prophecy, his mood instantly dropped, but he still maintained his respect for the Great Immortal. So what urgent matter do you want to see me about this time? Jiraiya was anxiously waiting for the answer from the Great Toad Sage, but he saw that the Great Toad Sage was actually in a daze in front of him. Upon seeing this, the immortal Fukasaku hurried forward and gently pushed the Toad Immortal, which brought the immortal back to his senses from his contemplation. The Great Toad Sage spoke slowly, just now, a black-haired boy who will have a special impact on the ninja world like the Child of Prophecy appeared in my dream. Jiraiya frowned upon hearing this and asked anxiously, a boy who will have the same influence on the ninja world as the Child of Prophecy? Master, are there any other characteristics? After all, there are black-haired boys everywhere in the ninja world. The Great Toad Sage closed his eyes and recalled for a moment, then said to Jiraiya, Oh, that boy was wearing your Konoha's forehead protector. Oh, I remember, he also seemed to have the Manjiki Sharingan. The Uchiha clan's Manjiki Sharingan? And a young boy? We don't seem to have such a person in Konoha. Master, please think about it again, are there any other characteristics? Jiraiya frowned even more tightly. The Great Toad Sage thought deeply again, but under Jiraiya's expectant eyes, he shook his head. Sorry, little Jiraiya, there is nothing else. But one thing is certain, his influence on the ninja world will be very great, and may even affect the existence of the Child of Prophecy. Jiraiya frowned, a worried look on his face. This person would bring unpredictable impacts to the ninja world. Even the Child of Prophecy, who he had been searching for a long time without any clue, would be affected by him. For the peace of the ninja world, he must find him. Moreover, the other party is from the Uchiha clan. Although Jiraiya did not have the same prejudice against the Uchiha clan as his teacher, as far as he knew, the higher the level of the Uchiha clan's Sharingan, the more unstable their mental state. This young boy opened the Uchiha clan's legendary eyes at a very young age, and he is most likely a problem child. For the sake of the ninja world, Jiraiya felt that he had an obligation to guide him onto the right path. Jiraiya took a deep breath and promised the Great Immortal, Master, I understand. I will do my best to find him. Lord Hatake Sakumo. Intelligence shows that the 3rd Kazekage is leading his troops and approaching our army. Facing the sudden information, Hatake Sakumo was only confused. He stared at the map, pondering the 3rd Kazekage's intentions in his mind. Is the 3rd Kazekage crazy? He doesn't even care about the lives of the elders of his own village. Sakumo muttered to himself, his brows furrowed as he pondered the movements of the Sand Village. Cho and Ebizo, 2 elders of the Sand Village, and thousands of Sand Village ninjas have become prisoners of Konoha. According to common sense, this war should have developed to this point with only local conflicts and should have ended with peace talks. However, the 3rd Kazekage unexpectedly continued to expand the battlefield, which surprised and unsettled Sakumo. The expansion of the war means more sacrifice and destruction, which any sane leader should avoid. Orochimaru-kun, what do you think of this situation? Sakumo turned around and looked at the silent Orochimaru. Orochimaru's strategies had worked many times in this war, and Hatake Sakumo valued his command ability very much. Could it be that, like before, Tsunagakuer may have formed an alliance with other forces? Orochimaru thought about it and only thought of one possibility, but this was also the only reasonable explanation at the moment. After all, no wise leader would choose to go to war after losing significant combat power. Yes, that makes sense, Hatake Sakumo responded in a deep voice. Notify the village immediately of the news that the 3rd Kazekage is personally leading a large army to attack. There is also the possibility that other villages will be involved. I hope that the 3rd Sama can speed up the infiltration of this aspect. We need intelligence. Finally, I request that Yanagi be transferred back to the battlefield as soon as possible. Shuomao rubbed his temples, trying to relieve the fatigue of the past few days. He thought to himself that if he had known that the other party was such a lunatic, he would never agree to let Yanagi leave the battlefield. The war has reached this point, and there is no ruling out the possibility that the other side will make a desperate effort and may even send the tailed beasts into the battlefield. According to the legend in the ninja world, wood release has a miraculous effect on the tailed beasts. At least from what he has seen, that power is definitely not weaker than that of the tailed beasts. Orochimaru nodded, "I'll do it right away, Sakumo-senpai." Inside the Hokage's office, members of the Anbu stood in front of the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen and the elders, holding urgent intelligence just sent from the front line, and were making an emergency report. "Elders, this is the intelligence just sent from the front line." Udaten Koharu felt that this was a good opportunity to reinstate Danzo, and immediately said, "Sarutobi, since Danzo was dismissed, the village's infiltration efficiency into other major ninja villages has been very low. No spies in the village have been able to access this information so far. I suggest that Danzo be reinstated as the leader of the route immediately." Midaman seconded the idea. "I also think that at this critical moment, we need Danzo's experience and his roots to strengthen our intelligence network." Chapter 96. Let me think about Danzo's matter for a while. Let's discuss the other applications first. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen sat in his office chair, his pipe tightly between his lips and his brows furrowed. After Danzo was dismissed, the village's intelligence gathering was indeed affected. But unless it is absolutely necessary, I really don't want to let my good friend return to the darkness. Udaten Koharu used her eyes to stop Mito Kato from wanting to fight for Danzo again. Sarutobi had already been shaken, and according to what Danzo said later, his reinstatement was a natural thing. "I don't agree with what Yanagi said. As a Jinchuriki, how can he leave the village so easily? Moreover, he has just become the Nine Tails Jinchuriki, so he should stay under the protection of the village's sealing team." The Sanda's frown deepened. Thinking of Yanagi's wood release and flying thunder god, he felt a headache coming on. Does that brat Yanagi really need our protection? Can we really supervise him? Midaman didn't seem to care about the Sanda's worries. There was a hint of contempt in his voice. As long as he is a ninja of the village, can he rebel? Obeying orders is the basic principle of ninjas. In Midaman Yan's opinion, although Yanagi has great power, he is not a potentially dangerous existence like Uchiha. As long as Yanagi is restrained by the righteousness of the village, there will be no problem. It seems that the village's attitude towards the Jinchuriki is indeed problematic, as Yanagi said. Special beings like Mito-sama are still a minority after all. The Sanda's recognition of Yanagi's talents increased again. "It seems that we are getting old after all," Sarutobi Hiruzen said in his heart. He realized that Konoha village needed fresh blood and ideas, just as Yanagi said. Konoha needs new sprouts, just as Yanagi said. Thinking of this, the third Hokage said to the two elders, "I will personally consult with Yanagi about his attitude on this matter. So, Udaten Koharu, you will transport the supplies to the front line as soon as possible, and Minyan, expand the garrisons on the borders of other major countries to put some pressure on them." The Konoha village was immersed in tranquility at night, with only the occasional chirping of insects and the rustling of leaves in the breeze breaking the silence of the night. On a night like this, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen was walking alone on the road. His steps were steady and slow, and he seemed to be thinking about something. "Sandaime-sama." Suddenly, a low and respectful greeting broke the silence of the night. Several Anbu ninjas appeared silently from the shadows like ghosts in the night. They half knelt and saluted Sarutobi Hiruzen, showing their respect and loyalty to him. Sarutobi Hiruzen stopped, turned around, and scanned the Anbu members in front of him, asking, "Well, you've worked hard. Has anyone else come here recently?" "Hokage-sama, no one else is here at the moment." The Anbu ninja who answered felt Sarutobi Hiruzen's gaze and quietly lowered his head. Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at the Anbu members indifferently. There was a hint of depth in his eyes that made several Anbu members feel a chill in their backs. "Okay, I got it. Open the door and you can leave. I have something to say to Elder Danzo." "Yes. Hokage-sama." The ANBU members responded in unison, carrying out the order in swift and orderly fashion before blending back into the night as if they had never been there. Sarutobi Hiruzen stepped into the courtyard, the moonlight lengthening his figure until he stepped into the dark room. There was no light in the room, only the faint moonlight coming in through the window, vaguely illuminating Danzo's figure. "It must be the monkey," why did you think of coming to visit me? Danzo's hoarse voice came from the darkness. He didn't seem surprised by Sarutobi Hiruzen's arrival, as if he had already anticipated this moment. Sarutobi Hiruzen stood at the door, his figure looking particularly lonely under the moonlight. His eyes penetrated the darkness and fixed on Danzo's position, as if he wanted to see into the heart of this old friend. You should know why I came here this time. Sarutobi Hiruzen's voice was low, and every word was full of weight. Should I know? I'm just a former elder under house arrest. There was a hint of bitterness in Danzo's voice, and he seemed to have a deep understanding of his situation. Danzo, don't be stubborn. You have been in the darkness for too long. There was a hint of blame in Sarutobi Hiruzen's words, but more of it was concern for his old friend. Monkey. Everything I do is for the village. Without my intelligence infiltration, Konoha wouldn't be what it is today. Danzo's voice suddenly rose, and he firmly believed in what he was doing, even if it led him away from the light. I know, this should be borne by me as the Hokage. You have worked hard over the years. So I will bear the darkness this time by myself. Sarutobi Hiruzen's words were full of apology, but after he finished speaking, he turned around and prepared to leave, his figure casting a long shadow in the moonlight at the door. You will regret this, Hiruzen. Danzo's voice came from the darkness, full of reluctance and anger. Things did not develop in the direction he predicted. Based on his understanding of Sarutobi, shouldn't Sarutobi take the initiative to return control of the route to him? Danzo. Sarutobi Hiruzen stopped and turned around. His face looked exceptionally calm under the moonlight. Perhaps I should have regretted it a long time ago. This sentence shocked Danzo. Shimura Danzo looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen's back as he left. He didn't understand what Sarutobi Hiruzen meant. Was he regretting not giving up the position of Hokage to him? Or was he regretting something else? So Uncle Sandaime, what do you want me to do? I have to prepare breakfast for Kushina and the others. Yanagi looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen, who looked exhausted. It was obvious that he had been practicing Taoism again at night. He was still tired even when he was old. Be serious. I have something important to tell you this time. The third Hokage looked at the grinning Yanagi and began to wonder why he thought he was a serious person before. Okay, Hokage-sama, I, the Konoha Jonin Yanagi, report to you. Please give the orders. You're such a jerk. The third Hokage was so angry that he took a few deep breaths before recovering. It's been a while since you became the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. How do you feel? Nine-tailed fox? It's great. We are very close. When Yanagi heard that it was about Kyuubi, he felt that it was even less of a matter. Ever since the last time that Kyuubi teacher provided me with a rare practical class, I have slightly relaxed my authority over him, allowing him to observe the outside world through me. After observing for the past few days, I feel that Nine-Tailed Fox is indeed not planning to cause trouble. You can consider releasing a small clone of it for a walk. After all, foxes are still canines, and dogs need to be walked regularly. Chapter 97. You mean? Are you sure you want to send Yanagi to the front line? Mizudomanin looked at the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen in disbelief, his eyes full of doubt and worry. Monkey, even if you are the Hokage, you can't do whatever you want like this. As elders, we will never agree to this. Yudin Koharu was also shocked. She felt that the recent changes in the ninja world made her feel increasingly unfamiliar. Yudin Koharu, minion, this is a well-considered decision, because... The third Hokage wanted to say something but stopped himself. He just felt that he still couldn't believe it was true. After all, how could the nine-tailed fox, the strongest tailed beast in the legend, who could destroy the world with a single-tailed beast ball, be possible? Forget it, let Yanagi tell you himself. Sarutobi Hiruzen finally decided to let Yanagi explain it in person. After all, some things would not work no matter how much you said. They would only believe it if they saw it with their own eyes. The three of them fell silent, and no one spoke first. Yutane Koharu and Mito Kato-en looked at each other and said, could it be that the monkey has finally gone crazy? Dong dong dong! Yanagi? Come in. The voice of the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen broke the silence in the office. There was a slightly different tone in his voice, as if he was expecting something. The door slowly opened, and Yanagi walked into the office and greeted the elders present. Long time no see, elders. Midomanen and Yudin Koharu looked at the boy they hadn't seen for a while and found that he had changed a lot. Yanagi was wearing a neat suit, with the sword hanging from his waist. He had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes, and looked very heroic. But what surprised them even more was that there was a person sitting on Yanagi's shoulder. Fox? This red fox looks familiar. Wait. How many tails does this fox have? 1, 2, 3, 9? What are you looking at? Have you ever seen a handsome-tailed beast? The nine-tailed beast on Yanagi's shoulder suddenly bared its teeth and spoke, although it didn't look fierce at all due to its size. It was very upset that Mitamonen and Utane Koharu kept looking at it with their mouths wide open, big enough to fit a watermelon. It was the first-tailed beast in the ninja world, but today it felt like an animal on display. This? How is it possible? Mitamonen and Utane Koharu exclaimed in their hearts. They felt the breath coming from the nine tails on the other side, which was simply unbelievable. In their cognition, even the perfect Jinchuriki in other villages and the existence of Mito-sama had never demonstrated such an ability. Ha ha ha, that's the expression. I feel mentally balanced. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at his two old friends with such shocked expressions and felt that his previous gaffe instantly became insignificant. Kyuubi, how can you be so rude to the elders? Be careful or I'll put you in solitary confinement. Although Yanagi's tone was reproachful, it was not actually harsh. He then turned to look at the two elders. Two elders, I'm really sorry, but if you think Nine-Tailed Fox has a bad attitude, I will punish him by sending him to your house to guard the door for you. How about that? Humph. Kyuubi snorted coldly and thought to himself, humans are hypocritical, this was obviously your arrangement. No. No need. Utane Koharu and Mito Kato-en said in unison. Asking Kyuubi to guard the door of your house? This is not guarding the door, this is clearly an attempt to blow up the whole house. Elders, please don't be polite. Yanagi said with a smile. Okay, Yanagi, now is not the time to joke around. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen interrupted in time and saved his two friends, causing Mito Kato-en and Utane Koharu to breathe a sigh of relief. They looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with gratitude. But the next second, they regretted it. Sarutobi Hiruzen continued, several elders have expressed doubts about your ability to go to the front line, so I asked you to come and personally prove your relationship with the Nine Tails to the two elders. After all, seeing is believing, right? Koharu, Kato-en. The third Hokage looked at his two friends with a smug look on his face, and even the pipe in his mouth couldn't suppress his smile. He thought to himself, with the Nine Tails Jinchuriki who is even more perfect than the perfect Jinchuriki, plus the power of the wood release of the first generation, Konoha is like a flying dragon riding on its face. How can we lose? He already imagined the scene where the third Kazekage personally handed over the letter of surrender to him. Well, we're just concerned about the future of the village. Utane Koharu smiled awkwardly, trying to ease the atmosphere. Yes, I just want to show my concern. Mizuto Minion also echoed. Yanagi smiled slightly, as if he knew the concerns of the two elders, so he suggested very considerately, two elders, it's okay. If you have doubts about the ability of my Jinchuriki, I can let the Nine Tails come and have a small competition with you. Joey was on Yanagi's shoulder. When he heard this proposal, a gleam of excitement flashed in his eyes, but at the same time, there was also a hint of mockery. He had been beaten twice by Yanagi, so he could vent his anger on the two in front of him. Feeling the breath coming from the Nine-Tailed Fox again, the two elders decisively chose to give up. No, we have no objection. Yanagi, you are so outstanding, what else can we have to object to? Yes, we have no objection. We agree. Let's let the Tsunagakuer see the power of our Konoha this time. Mito Kato-en and Utane Koharu said in unison, their attitudes taking a 180-degree turn. In that case, this time the reinforcements will be led by Yanagi himself to support the front line. The third Hokage struck while the iron was hot. Now that he had made up his mind, he had to start paving the way for the next generation. Although Mito Kato-en and Utane Koharu were extremely unwilling to see Sarutobi Hiruzen continue to improve Yanagi's status, they could only swallow their words and accept the result when faced with the malicious Nine Tails in front of them. Yes, Lord Sandame. Yanagi was very satisfied with the appointment. After all, to be the Hokage, brute force alone was not enough. Procedural justice was the best option. As soon as Utane Koharu and Mito Kato-en left the area of the Hokage building, Koharu couldn't help but start complaining, why didn't you dare to object when you were in there just now? Mitamonen was not to be outdone and retorted, Utane Koharu, we have to speak honestly. It was obviously you who was scared first. Why don't you dare to fight the Nine Tails? The argument between the two revealed their concerns about the current situation and uncertainty about the future. Yudin Koharu sighed, her tone becoming heavy. You are right, it seems that what Danzo said is right, Konoha is no longer the same as before our era. We need strength, it seems that we need to ask Hiruzen to urge the experiment again, and it must start as soon as possible. Midaman nodded and agreed, yes, if nothing unexpected happens, the Ninja World War will soon begin. We can't just sit there and wait for death, we must take action. God knows how we will be treated after the war is over. Chapter 98. A hurried voice broke the silence in a strange cave somewhere in the ninja world. Madara-sama. Something big has happened. White Zetsuafii, a pale humanoid creature with a swirl face, ran into the cave shouting, his voice full of urgency. Afei. Are you done yet? This is the nth time recently. Didn't I tell you not to bother me until I find a suitable successor? Uchiha Madara stared at Afei with his reincarnation eyes, and there was a hint of impatience in his voice. Madara-sama. There really is a big problem. Afei said innocently, he knew his master didn't like to be disturbed by trivial matters. Tell me, if you ask any weird questions again, I'll scrap you. There was a hint of threat in Uchiha Madara's voice, his patience was almost at its limit. Afei took a deep breath, then quickly said, that wood release kid has become the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. Hey? That kid from the Senju clan became a Jinchuriki. Uchiha Madara frowned when he heard the news. The wood release power displayed by this kid was not weak to begin with, but in Madara's opinion, except for Hashirama and himself, the wood release of others could only go so far, and it could only be considered a nuisance. But if I add the power of the nine-tailed fox, it might be difficult to deal with this kid if I can't use my full strength. It seems we have to find a way to make the ninja world more lively. Zetsu, go and order the third Mizukage to immediately arrange for a surprise attack on Konoha. Yes, Madam Madara. A strange creature that was half black and half white slowly emerged from underground. It was none other than the top old silver coin from our old Six Realms. Ever since Yanagi took Nagato away, Zetsu took advantage of Uchiha Madara's process of expanding the White Zetsu army again to come to Madara's side. He had only one goal in mind, for the resurrection of his mother, no accidents would be allowed to happen. Very good. Uchiha Madara looked at the Zetsu in front of him and felt very satisfied. Zetsu was not only the product of his will, but also a completely different existence from those ordinary white Zetsu. With Zetsu, Madara could realize his plan with more confidence. Also, you need to hurry up with the matter of finding a successor. I'm tired of living like this. Uchiha Madara felt the power coming from behind him and felt it was just a mockery of himself. As a Shura in the ninja world, he never thought that there would be a day when he would have to rely on such power to survive in a corner of the ninja world. But for his ideals, and for the expression he would show when he met Hashirama Senju sooner or later, he had to continue to endure this pain. Master Madara, I'm leaving now. Black Zetsu knew that Madara must be imagining something related to Hashirama Senju again. After all, Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha are both reincarnations of the two stupid sons of that traitor. After many fateful entanglements, their destiny had long been seen through by Black Zetsu, and the outcome of the person in front of him had long been doomed, that is, he was destined to become a sacrifice for his mother's resurrection. The figures of Zetsu and Afei gradually disappeared into the shadows, while Uchiha Madara continued to wait for his death in his sleep. In the core area of Konoha's camp in the Land of Wind, a tense and depressing atmosphere filled the air. After Tsunade and Noeke heard Yanagi talk about the death of Mito's grandmother, the joy of reuniting with Yanagi disappeared in an instant, and was replaced by grief. Damn it! Why didn't you tell us about this? Tsunade's voice was filled with anger and blame, and debris was scattered around her, obviously caused by her losing control of her emotions. I'm sorry, Tsunade, Noeke, I tried my best, but Grandma Mito. Noeke shook his head and said hoarsely, it's not your fault. It's Grandma's choice. Grandma, just missed Grandpa too much. Tsunade clenched her fists and tried to calm herself down. Yanagi, Noeke is right, this is not your fault. In the Land of Wind, at the Sand Village camp, a tense and solemn atmosphere enveloped the entire camp. The ninjas were like cheetahs in the night, quietly waiting for the order to attack. Report to Lord Kazekage, the ninjas have assembled, shall we carry out the mission? Okay. The third Kazekage looked at the army of ninjas in front of him. This was the confidence of Sand Village. This time I will make Konoha pay the price. He turned to look at the monk Fenfu who was smiling beside him, and said with a hint of helplessness, Fenfu, this time the village is in danger, don't blame me. As the Jinkriki of the tailed beasts, once he uses the power of the tailed beasts on the battlefield, he will definitely become the opponent's first target. He may be able to crush a small country with force, but if he is facing Konoha, which has a deep foundation, he may be taken down by the Sealing Squad. Monk Fenfuku seemed to have seen through life and death long ago. He said nothing but kept smiling. As a Jinkriki, he had already made preparations. However, Shikaku in his body seemed to be very excited about this arrangement, probably because he was excited to see the light of day again. All forces attack. Defeat the Konoha army. Reclaim the glory of Tsunagakuer. The third Kazekage raised his arm and gave the order to attack. Following the order of the Kazekage, the Sand Village ninjas moved towards the target quickly and orderly like arrows shot from a bow. As the Sand Village troops quietly approached the Konoha camp, Konoha's security network had already noticed something unusual. The two sides were tacitly preparing for the upcoming battle on an open plain. After all, this battle would most likely be the first and final one. Master Banfuku, I'm counting on you, let the wrath of the Sand Village burn on the other side. The gaze of the third Kazekage penetrated the dust of the battlefield, fell on Fenfu who was standing aside, and spoke to Fenfu. Amitabha. Monk Fenfu chanted Buddhist mantras and quickly formed hand seals with his hands. His body began to be wrapped in sand and gravel, and a strong chakra fluctuation gradually erupted with his steps. Finally, a giant raccoon cat covered with curse marks appeared on the battlefield and let out a deafening howl towards the sky. Ha ha ha, now I'm free, you despicable ninjas, give me your lives. This giant raccoon cat is none other than Shikaku, who has been sealed for a long time. Its voice is filled with a desire for freedom and enthusiasm for fighting. Without hesitation, it released several powerful wind-style, air training bombs at the Konoha army. Although it was more eager to release the tailed beast ball to the sand ninja who sealed it, the blessing consciousness in its body obviously would not agree. Today, it decided to vent its anger on the Konoha ninja on the opposite side. It did not feel the breath of the nine tails, which made it more confident, on this battlefield, it is invincible. Hey, Nine Tails, how can you tailed beasts be so shameless? You can't even open your mouth to release a tailed beast ball. Looking at Shikaku who was skilled in using ninjutsu on the battlefield, Yanagishita couldn't help but teasing the nine tails on his shoulder. This idiot is simply a disgrace to the tailed beasts. Kyubai's voice was filled with disdain. It had always been dissatisfied with this stinky raccoon cat. Yanagi, let me go out and teach him a lesson. Chapter 99. No rush, let him play for a while. Brother Orochimaru and Captain Hitaki Sakumo suspect that the other party may have other forces. Yanagi shrugged, his eyes closely following every move on the battlefield, especially the three ninjas who were entangled with the one-tailed Shikaku. Although Hanzo was no longer with them, they still earned the title of Sunin, but this time it was after the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen accepted Yanagi's proposal. As for Yanagi's title, the third Hokage expressed regret that Yanagi refused to accept any title. After all, he had thought of many domineering titles, which was a pity. I think those little guys are overthinking it. Anyway, I don't feel the presence of other ninja forces around. When Kyuubi heard that he couldn't go out and teach Shikaku a lesson immediately, he suddenly looked a little listless. I feel so too, but since they have this concern, let's wait first. It's a good opportunity for you to feel the breath of the strange creature I told you about. I don't believe that the half-dead old man didn't move at all. Yanagi said in a low voice. Well, as for that guy, I'm going to give him a lesson one day. Joey gets angry when he thinks of that red-eyed guy. He was originally enjoying his leisure time at home, waiting for the legendary child of prophecy. But he was captured by Uchiha Madara and sealed for such a long time. If it weren't for Yanagi, he wouldn't be able to see the sun outside. Anyway, we'll face off one day. If we join forces, we'll be invincible, Kurama. Yanagi said easily that the power of wood release plus the power of the nine tails was enough for him at least for now. Just be careful with Old Six and Uchiha Madara and there would be no problem. His hand gently stroked the nine-tailed fox's hair, feeling the unexpected softness, and he couldn't help but stroke it a few more times. Kyuubi narrowed his eyes slightly, seeming to enjoy this intimate gesture. On the battlefield, the battle between the Sunin and Shikaku has entered a white-hot stage. Shikaku slapped his belly violently, releasing 3 huge wind-style, air training bullets, which flew straight towards the Sunin. The 3 ninjas used their agility and rich combat experience to skillfully move and dodge the deadly attack. They looked at each other and reached a consensus in their hearts: to deal with such a powerful tailed beast, they must summon summoned beasts of the same size to compete with it. So, the 3 of them formed seals almost at the same time and activated the psychic technique. Ninja technique. Summoning technique. The voices of the 3 people echoed over the battlefield. Jiraiya. Why are the battles getting more and more extreme each time? The previous one was a giant poisonous fish or a summoning beast, but now he's facing a tailed beast. Orochimaru, I want 300 sacrifices this time. Lady Tsunade, this target is also very dangerous. Let's go together. Let's use this guy to experiment on the growth of the 3 of us. You think a giant toad, a snake, and a giant slug can be my opponent? Don't stand in my way. I'm the one-tailed Shikaku. Shikaku opened his mouth wide, and chakra continued to accumulate in his mouth, and the yin and yang chakra continued to gather into a chakra ball. Call out. A sharp whistling sound was accompanied by a force that could destroy the world. Oh no, it's the tailed beast ball. Tsunade looked solemn. Damn, there's a battleground behind us. We can't hide. We have to find a way to stop them. Jiraiya instinctively wanted to dodge and looked at the battlefield of Sand Village and Konoha in the distance behind him. The 2 sides were fighting in a group and there was no time to separate. However, the power of the tailed beast ball in front of him should not be underestimated. Once it falls into the vicinity. Let me. Orochimaru spoke calmly as he jumped down from the top of Mandalay's head, quickly bit his 2 thumbs in mid-air, and slammed the ground with both hands as he landed. Spiritual summoning. Triple Rashomon. Following his summons, 3 huge and ferocious gates emerged from the ground, like portals from another world. These gates are engraved with mysterious and ancient runes and ferocious mouths, and they exude an awe-inspiring power. Orochimaru stood in front of the triple Rashomon, full of confidence, ready to meet the coming attack with this powerful defense. Boom! There should be love some faster, love some more, love some more, love some more, black stars. The huge-tailed beast ball finally hit Orochimaru's confident Rashomon. After all, Orochimaru's current triple Rashomon is still too immature. Facing Shikaku's tailed beast ball, he still seems a little immature. It only held out for a brief moment under the fierce bombardment of the tailed beast ball before being ruthlessly blasted away. Hitaki Sakumo, you Konoha are doomed this time. There was a hint of sarcasm in the voice of the 3rd Kazekage, and he used magnetic style, sand wall to successfully resist the powerful attack from the Konoha team. His gaze turned to the distance, where the huge explosion caused by the tailed beast ball was, and he sneered at Hitaki Sakumo. After the 3 ninjas of Tsunagakuer joined forces to contain the Tsunagakuer's trump card, the one-tail Shikaku, the Tsunagakuer, which was at a numerical disadvantage, could only rely on its strongest Kazekage to hold off the spearhead team led by Konoha's White Fang. If the Kazekage had been a little slower, the Sand Village, whose morale was already low, would have been attacked and retreated 7 times by the spearhead squad. But the 3 ninjas were not strong enough after all. Konoha underestimated the Sand Village, or it could be said that this was a solid fortress that perished from within. While the 3rd Kazekage was speaking, Sakumo quickly stepped forward, wielding the sword in his hand and slashing several times quickly. However, the 3rd Kazekage's magnetic escape ability is indeed a big challenge for a ninja like Sakumo who is good at swordsmanship. The power of magnetic escape not only affected his sword speed and accuracy, but also made it difficult for him to get close to the 3rd Kazekage. Whenever Sakumo found an opportunity to get close, the 3rd Kazekage would use his flying ability to create distance between them like flying a kite, making it difficult for Sakumo to reach him. Is the 3rd Kazekage just a flying mouse? Konoha's partners are worthy of my trust. My only goal is to completely defeat you. Humph, there's no point in saying more. When Shikaku completely wipes out those 3 juniors, don't blame me for not warning you. Facing Hitaki Sakumo's ridicule, the 3rd Kazekage wanted to go down and let Hitaki Sakumo know what it meant that a kage cannot be humiliated, but for the future of the village, he had to endure it. Anyway, he didn't believe that without the Sealing Squad, a few young ninjas could resist Shikaku. Ha ha ha, now you understand how powerful Master Shikaku is. The big raccoon cat Shikaku looked at the ninjutsu in front of him being broken by his full-strength attack of the tailed beast ball, and immediately turned on the full-screen taunting mode. however. He seemed to have forgotten a famous law in the ninja world: there is smoke but no harm. In the outer area affected by the aftermath of the explosion, the smoke gradually dissipated, revealing a desolate scene. The originally solid ground has become riddled with holes under the residual power of the tailed beast ball, with pits everywhere, just like the surface of the moon. The danger level of the central area can be imagined. The destructive power there must be even more shocking. The air is filled with the smell of dust and scorched earth, which makes people shudder. However, in the smoke, a huge figure gradually appears before the world. This is... Shikaku's originally relaxed expression suddenly became serious as it felt the strong threat emanating from the familiar tailed beast. Stinky cat, you are quite arrogant. Chapter 100. It's you, you stinky fox. I never thought Konoha would let you out. Shikaku confirmed what he was thinking, and instead of being nervous, it was not like he had never been beaten, it was not like he had never fought a stinky fox before. Since you, a stinky civet cat, have escaped, of course I can come out. Not only will I come out, I will also, how should I put it, yes, I will also beat you up. The Nine-Tails voice echoed across the battlefield, and its gigantic figure completely reappeared in the ninja world. This huge orange fox has 9 tails waving in the air like 9 huge streams of life. Its hair sparkles brightly under the sunlight, as if it were covered with a layer of golden armor. You stinky fox, you've fallen so low as to let a human stand on top of you. You're really bringing shame to us tailed beasts. Shikaku saw the small ants on the top of the 9-tailed fox's head, and was shocked that the proud 9-tailed fox was willing to let others stand on it. However, he was the most unforgiving in his words, and his ridicule was at its maximum. On the huge head of the 9 tails, Yanagi was holding the blushing Tsunade, and the two figures were particularly eye-catching in this battle. On the side, Orochimaru and Jiraiya were a little dazed, and they were shocked by Yanagi's performance. I only knew that Yanagi-kun was an extraordinary skill and would release before, but I didn't expect that he was also so brave as a Jinchuriki. Orochimaru became more and more interested in Yanagi-kun and wanted to study him. Jiraiya scratched his head, a wry smile appeared on his face as he looked at Tsunade and Yanagi. This kid always brings us surprises. Tsunade murmured shyly, this kid, really? Yanagi, don't do anything. Let me vent my anger first this time. This bad-mouthed guy will become a jerk if he is not beaten for 3 days. Kyuubi said that Shikaku's taunt this time was very successful, so in order to reward him, he rewarded him personally. Yanagi stood on top of the 9-tail and felt its anger. He gently patted its fur, signaling it to calm down. Okay, Kuriko, I'll let you go first this time. But remember, it's a quick fight. After saying that, he jumped down holding Tsunade. Wouldn't it be better if he didn't have to do it himself? Stinky fox, what's the point of being so arrogant? Shikaku felt insulted and immediately displayed his power as a strong mouth, ready to gain the upper hand in this verbal battle. Shut up, you shame of a tailed beast who is so weak after a few tailed beast balls. The 9-tailed fox showed no sign of weakness, and its words were sharp, pointing directly at Shikaku's weaknesses. You. Shikaku was choked by Kyuubi's words. It felt that if it patted its stomach right now, it would surely be able to fire the most powerful air training bullet in history. What do you mean by you? You are a disgrace to the tailed beasts who are so hollow that they can only use ninjutsu. The 9-tailed fox continued to provoke, its tone full of contempt and disdain. Shikaku wanted to retort angrily, but under the repeated provocations of the 9-tailed fox, it found that it could not find the right words to fight back. What do you mean by I? If I were you, I would just die and go find the old man. Kyuubi's words became more and more sharp, and it seemed to have completely immersed itself in the joy of confronting people that Yanagi mentioned. Tailed beast Jade. Shikaku felt that Kyuubi had changed. He was no longer the dog he used to be. He was so good at talking. In the past, when he argued with him, he would just take advantage of him verbally if he couldn't win the fight. Now, he couldn't even win the argument. What was the point of talking? Just fight. Hey, you're anxious, you're anxious. Unfortunately, you can't win the fight either. The 9-tailed fox looked at Shikaku's actions and not only was he not nervous at all, but he mocked him even more calmly. The real battle had just begun. As Kyuubi taunted it, it began to prepare its own counterattack. The 9 tails calmly gathered chakra and prepared to activate the tailed beast ball. The speed at which its chakra gathers is indeed proof that its status as the strongest tailed beast is well deserved. Compared to Shikaku, the Nine Tails chakra control ability is faster and more powerful. It seems that fate is on our side of Konoha this time. The third Kazekage. Hitaki Sakumo once again used the team's ninjutsu as an opportunity to contain the enemy, tightly grasped the white fang in his hand, and turned into a beam of white light to launch a surprise attack on the third Kazekage. Damn it! They are all trash. The third Kazekage held down his arm that had just been scratched by Hitaki Sakumo in anger. This was the first time he was injured since becoming the Kazekage. Although it was in an unfavorable situation of one against many, it was undoubtedly a shame for him as a Kage. But when he saw the Nine Tails appearing over there, the vague uneasiness he had been feeling for a long time finally made sense. Konoha did not underestimate the Sand Village, so it did not send the Sealing Squad, but instead sent its ace. But I have clearly obtained information that Konoha should be in a period of transition of Jinchuriki, and there should be no Jinchuriki's ability to fight. It seems that this time the Sand Village has no choice but to admit defeat and retreat. If there is no other choice, they have to make that choice for the sake of the village, no matter how reluctant they are. Damn it, the old man is so partial. Shikaku was filled with resentment. He felt extremely dissatisfied when he saw that the tailed beast ball he had condensed with all his strength was easily defeated by the tailed beast ball used by the Nine Tails. If the old man was not biased when distributing power, how could he be at a disadvantage in this duel? Who told you to be ugly? Nine-tailed Fox was not afraid of the old man's preference for him, and there was a hint of pride and sarcasm in his tone. Okay, Nine-tailed Fox, enough fun, it's time to end this farce. Yanagi appeared above Joei's head and interrupted Joei's continued ridicule. If he had known earlier, he would not have taught the big fox all those messy things. He even wanted to hit him after listening to them. Tisk, I'm not satisfied yet. Although Kyuubi hadn't had enough fun, since Yanagi had spoken, he decided to let it go in order to avoid being put in solitary confinement. It was his own fault that he was completely restrained, and it was rare for him to be able to go out for a drive every day without being locked up. Little devil! Where did you come from? Shikaku looked at the new Jinchuriki, the Nine Tails, with caution. The person who could get along with the Nine Tails like this was definitely not an ordinary person, but what kind of power did he rely on? Hey, big raccoon cat, didn't you guys in Tsunagakure tell you to run away if you see a Konoha ninja named Yanagi? Yanagi sat cross-legged on top of the Nine Tails, feeling the most top-notch scenery in the ninja world. What? Forget it, you won't understand even if I tell you. You weren't captured by Hashirama either. Let me show you this power. Wood release. Wood dragon technique. Following Yanagi's call, the ground began to shake violently, and the huge trees began to twist and tangle together, gradually forming a shocking creature. This time the wooden dragon is different from the previous ones. It has huge dragon horns on its head and 4 eagle-like claws on its body. The aura it exudes is stronger than before. Chapter 101. Yanagi stared at the familiar dragon in front of him, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction in his heart. In his opinion, Hashirama's aesthetic taste is really not flattering. A dragon has to look like the Chinese dragon to be majestic and domineering enough. Hashirama's wooden dragon is really hard to describe. Shikaku, it's time to enjoy the ravages of wood release like the other tailed beasts. Take my dragon tail. Yanagi's voice echoed over the battlefield. He controlled the wooden dragon to soar into the air, raised his huge dragon tail, and swept towards Shikaku with a thunderous force. This attack created a storm, sweeping away everything in its path. Shikaku hurriedly controlled the gravel and shot down layers of sand walls, trying to block this fierce attack. But in the face of the wood dragon's divine power, these defenses were as useless as the Black Soul's armor. Although Shikaku tried his best to move away and dodge, its huge figure was eventually caught up by the wood dragon's tail. Boom! I've always told this fat raccoon cat to move more, but now he's been treated like a ball. Nine-tailed Fox looked at Shikaku who had been knocked away and could not help but let out a smug laugh, enjoying this moment. Although he could do it himself, it was a different kind of experience to see a raccoon cat being beaten by others. Stupid fox, we are still above you, stop laughing, be quiet. The people standing on top of the nine-tailed fox were first hit by a strong gust of air, and then were swayed by the nine-tailed fox's big head, feeling a little embarrassed. Although they were all rare strong men in the ninja world, they could only barely maintain their bodies in this situation. Orochimaru and Jiraiya didn't care about it, but Tsunade was different. She only realized it after Yanagi took advantage of her, so she was naturally not in a good mood. I'm sure it wasn't voluntary. A good-tailed beast doesn't fight a little girl. If the nine-tailed fox was still in its previous temper, Tsunade would have to use a few tailed beast balls on it. But now, considering her relationship with Yanagi, it's better to forget it. If you can't afford to provoke them, you can at least avoid them. They are all children. Uncle Kuabai has a lot of room in his stomach. Kuabai comforted himself in his heart. Damn human, your so-called wood release is just this. You can't hurt Master Shikaku, don't underestimate me. After this period of bickering, Shikaku has returned to the battlefield. It must be said that the tailed beasts do have unique advantages. If it were anyone else, even a strong man close to the level of the six paths, he would have been seriously injured if he had been hit by the wood dragon's move. However, Shikaku, despite being seriously injured, recovered quickly in full view of everyone. Tisk, idiot Shikaku is just too confident, Yanagi will take care of him. The Nine Tails looked at Shikaku with a confident look on his face and no longer had any idea of beating him. Shikaku was stupid to begin with, and if he was beaten, there would be no hope for him. Roar! Tailed beast ball! After Shikaku roared, chakra began to condense in front of his mouth, forming a purple ball in his mouth that was larger than the previous times. As the tailed beast ball was formed, Shikaku became visibly weaker. Hehe, arrogant human, prepare to die. Shikaku's voice was full of murderous intent. It sprayed the tailed beast ball towards Yanagi. The purple ball of light streaked across the sky like a comet, carrying the power to destroy everything. Yanagi, be careful. Don't be too careless. Orochimaru, who had witnessed this power, was still frightened. If the Nine Tails had not appeared in time to save himself and others, the three ninjas might have been lying in the cemetery of Konoha. Don't worry, it's just a small matter. Yanagi calmly comforted the few people, and with a clap of his hands, the wood dragon in front roared and rushed towards the tailed beast ball. The wood dragon approached the tailed beast ball, and just when everyone thought that the wood dragon would use its indestructible body to resist the tailed beast ball, the wood dragon made an unexpected move. It suddenly raised a huge dragon claw with light and precise movements, just like grabbing a basketball, and grabbed the violent tailed beast ball firmly in its hand. It's useless. No ninjutsu can take on the tailed beast ball. Although Shikaku's strength has been greatly reduced, it still refuses to show weakness. In its view, the wood dragon's behavior was nothing but a futile struggle. It was secretly looking forward to the upcoming explosion, wanting to see the wood dragon being completely swallowed up by the power of the tailed beast ball. But the reality was completely different from Shikaku's expectations. Although the tailed beast ball did cause some damage to the wood dragon's claws at first, that damage seemed insignificant compared to the amazing recovery ability of wood release. What is even more shocking is that the wood dragon actually began to absorb the power of the tailed beast ball quickly. How can it be? Shikaku exclaimed, he couldn't believe his eyes. The power of the tailed beast ball, which should have been a destructive force, was completely absorbed by the wood dragon in front of it, until the last trace disappeared into the air. If the surrounding environment destroyed by the tailed beast balls had not still existed, this scene would almost make people wonder if they were experiencing a dream. Not good. This thing can absorb the power of the tailed beasts. Shikaku suddenly realized why the nine-tailed fox was so polite to Yanagi. It seemed that the powerful fox must have suffered a loss before. Shikaku, look at your little eyes rolling around, are you trying to run away? There was a hint of teasing in Kuwabai's voice. If he were to face this situation, he would probably want to back off, not to mention Shikaku, who was considered a shame among the tailed beasts because of his weak strength. Humph, don't think I'm afraid of you. Although Shikaku spoke tough, his eyes had already begun to wander around, looking for a possible way out. Under the dual pressure of Kuwabai and Yanagi, Shikaku realized that he might not really be the opponent. Nine Tails looked at Shikaku's flickering eyes and laughed secretly in his heart. Shikaku, you'd better admit defeat. We will treat the prisoners well. Don't think about it. Shikaku's belly bulged, as if he was ready to release a powerful air training bullet, which attracted the instinctive attention of Jiraiya and others. But the next moment, Shikaku simply blew up a gust of wind and sand to block his vision, and he took advantage of the strong wind to escape backwards. Don't worry, he can't get away. Malong, catch him. During the pursuit, countless vines stretched out from the wood dragon's body and grew rapidly, and soon caught up with the flying Shikaku. Although Shikaku tried his best to destroy the vines, unfortunately the speed of destruction was not as fast as the growth speed of the wood release, and finally he lost his grip, no, he lost his tail, and it was tightly bound by the vines. By the time Shikaku freed his tail, the wood dragon had already caught up with him. After absorbing the tailed beast ball condensed from most of Shikaku's chakra, the wood dragon's body has completely crushed the one-tailed Shikaku. It pressed Shikaku's neck with one claw and used its body to tie up Shikaku. Shikaku, who was bound by the wooden dragon, felt that the chakra in his body was just like a frozen watermelon in the dog days of summer, flowing out of his body. This is where wood release is most effective against the tailed beasts. The recovery speed of wood release is just a nuisance for the tailed beasts, but at least there is a way to solve it. The worst that can happen is to use a few more tailed beast balls. However, combined with wood release's ability to absorb chakra, once the tailed beast is entangled by wood release ninjutsu, the only result is that it will be captured. Chapter 102. Alright, Shikaku has been captured. When Shikaku was entangled by the wood dragon, his fate was doomed. As expected, the one tail was drained of chakra from its body before it could even last a minute under the absorption of wood release. Bang! A huge figure disappeared and turned into the real body of Monk Fenfu, falling weakly from the sky. The dragon claw steadily caught the Monk Fenfu and sent him to Yanagi and others. So they captured the tailed beast alive. Tsunade looked at the one-tailed Jinchuriki in front of her and felt an indescribable feeling in her heart. Although I have heard that my grandfather's wood release is very powerful, I have never seen it. When the power of wood release appeared before me, and its magic was demonstrated again and again, especially on the person I was most familiar with, the shock was indescribable. So they captured the tailed beast alive. Jiraiya expressed the same sentiment as Tsunade, but for some reason, he only thought how great it would be if Yanagi was one of the two children of prophecy that he had been searching for. However, Yanagi is neither his disciple nor a member of the Uchiha clan, and is also a member of the Senju clan, which is the least likely to possess the power of the Uchiha clan. After Yanagi completed the sealing work and was about to ease the tense atmosphere with a few light words, a cold and mechanical voice sounded in his mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the achievement of capturing one. The reward is magnetic escape. The power of magnetic escape. Yanagi felt that the system did it on purpose, rewarding him with the Kazekage's signature skill, magnetic escape, when he was about to fight the third Kazekage. The system's bloodline limit reward also gives you the application of ninjutsu. Should I use magnetic escape to fight the third Kazekage now? Tsunade noticed that Yanagi had suddenly fallen silent, so she stepped forward and asked with concern, Yanagi, what's wrong? Her delicate little face was so close. Yanagi took the opportunity to kiss her on the cheek at the speed of light, and was secretly proud of himself. Sure enough, men are all LSBs. Once the bottom line is broken, there is no bottom line at all. Rogue. Tsunade's face turned red with shame at this sudden kiss. With a hint of shame and anger, she punched Yanagi. This punch was earth-shattering. If it hit a person, it would definitely kill a lot of cells. Don't blame me, it's all because you're too beautiful and too attractive. Yanagi teased and quickly changed the subject. I'm going to deal with the third Kazekage over there first, the old guy is ready to run away. Before he finished his words, Yanagi had already activated the Flying Thunder God technique, turned into a blue light and disappeared on the spot, leaving Tsunade standing there in shame and anger. Humph, this brat, what are you looking at? Are you looking for a fight? Tsunade muttered a few words coquettishly, and noticed that Jiraiya and Orochimaru were looking at her with strange eyes. She felt even more shy and waved her fists unconsciously. Seeing this, Jiraiya and Orochimaru quickly turned around and thought to themselves, women are not to be messed with, especially women with violent tendencies, who should not be touched. On the other side, the third Kazekage witnessed the power of wood release shining on the battlefield. He could no longer suppress his resentment towards Danzo, and began to curse Danzo's ancestors in his heart. He thought angrily, what happened to the cooperation we agreed on? It turned out to be such a rip-off. No wonder you, Shimura Danzo, can't become Hokage. Today's young ninjas may not be aware of the ability of wood release to restrain the tailed beasts, but he, the Kazekage of the Sand Village, knows it clearly. Don't forget that except for the one-tailed beast Shikaku, the other tailed beasts were captured by the legendary god of ninja, and the ninja god Hashirama Senju relied on his invincible wood release technique. Now we're in big trouble. The third Kazekage thought to himself that facing the power of wood release would be troublesome even for him, the Kazekage. Add to that the fact that Hitaki Sakumo was not much weaker than him, and he might even lose the battle. Should we retreat? I can easily evacuate with my magnetic flight ability, but what about the ninjas below? When the third Kazekage was in deep trouble, fortunately, he didn't have to make a choice, because Yanagi had already arrived at the battlefield here. Wood release. Tree World Advent Technique. The earth began to shake violently, and before all the ninjas could react, vines sprouted from the ground and quickly grew into towering trees, blocking out the sky and the sun. What's this? The Sand Village ninjas looked at the things that went against common sense and could not understand them. Many ninjas had only one thought in their minds: can such tree species be transplanted to their homeland? It's Yanagi-sama's wood release. You bastards from Tsunagakur! Your doom has come. All the ninjas of Konoha have seen this power. Although there was a mistake before, everyone later knew that it was the power of Lord Yanagi. Just as the Konoha ninja said, under the puzzled gaze of the Sand Village, the next moment countless branches and vines stretched out from these trees, and it didn't take much time to hang most of the Sand Village ninjas on the trees. Impossible. Is this something a human can do? The third Kazekage's faith began to waver. He had been thinking about retreating, but now he had no choice. His subordinates had been captured by the enemy. If he did not retreat, he might become the first cage to be captured alive. Magnetic escape, Iron Sand funeral. As the hand seals of the third Kazekage were completed, the ground on the battlefield began to surge, and countless iron sands seemed to be given life, turning into a torrent of iron sand, rushing towards Yanagi and others with an overwhelming force. The remaining Sand Village, retreat. After completing this feat, the third Kazekage quickly spread his wings made of iron sand and took off into the air, preparing to escape from the battlefield. He already had a plan in mind: as long as he could bring back the last elite forces, together with the other ninjas in the village, they would have enough strength to hold out for a while until peace talks could take place. However, Yanagi did not give him this opportunity. Facing the wave of iron sand in front of him, Yanagi clasped his hands together and shouted, "Wood release! 10,000 miles tree realm wall!" Then, a huge wooden wall that seemed to have no end grew out from the ground, like an indestructible barrier, firmly blocking the sand and iron waves outside. At the same time, this wooden wall also trapped the Sand Village Jonin who tried to escape inside the wall, forming a huge cage. Yanagi's move not only successfully defended against the attack of the third Kazekage, but also completely cut off the retreat of the Sand Village ninja. How is this possible? The third Kazekage witnessed all this in mid-air, and was shocked as never before. He had not expected that even his most proud magnetic release could not break through Yanagi's wood release defense. The ninjas of Konoha were safe and sound under Yanagi's protection. They looked at Yanagi with admiration and trust in their hearts. Ninja God Yanashida-sama. Chapter 103. Captain Chuo Mao, leave the third Kazekage to me. You guys should finish off the battlefield over there as soon as possible. Yanagi did not immerse himself in the praises of the god of ninja world from the Konoha ninjas, but calmly turned to Hitaki Sakumo who was standing beside him and said, "Well, the third Kazekage is not an easy opponent to deal with. Just do your best to hold him off. I will finish the battle over there as soon as possible and come to support you." Although Hitaki Sakumo was a little hesitant, seeing Yanagi's determined eyes and confident posture, he knew Yanagi was capable of dealing with the opponent in front of him, or at least had the ability to save his life. As for whether he could catch the third Kazekage, Hitaki Sakumo had no hope at all. If the cage of a village was so easy to catch, he wouldn't be called a cage. In addition, the Konoha ninjas on the distant battlefield were encircling the last elite troops. Facing the desperate Sand Village, Konoha suffered heavy losses. He realized that he had to act quickly. Hitaki Sakumo nodded, gave a few brief instructions, and then led his elite team to provide support. His figure quickly disappeared from the battlefield. "How dare you ignore me like this?" Magnetic style, Sand Iron Wave. The iron sand on the ground was once again picked up by the power of magnetic escape, turning into a wave of iron sand that flooded under the willow. "Lord Kazekage, please don't be in such a hurry to leave. Our Lord Hokage and Lord Danzo have specially arranged for me to come and invite you to Konoha to discuss the peace talks between the two countries. What do you think?" As the third Kazekage looked astonished, gold sand actually began to emerge from the ground beneath Yanagi's body, forming a golden disc under Yanagi's feet, lifting Yanagi up and floating in the air, bringing him to the same height as the third Kazekage. What's this feeling? Magnetic escape, that's impossible. Gold dust, is it a coincidence? Was it arranged by Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo? Could it be that Konoha was setting a trap for me from the beginning to the end? When the third Kazekage faced the reality that Yanagi possessed the ability of magnetic escape, his brain almost fell into chaos and he completely lost his logical thinking. Don't doubt it, Master Kazekage. The magnetic release was stolen by the root when Master Danzo set a trap for you. Yanagi looked at the third Kazekage with a smile on his face. He had a calm attitude. Anyway, after he got the information out of him, they would have to pack up and set off. Humph, Yanagi, do you think I'm a fool? You and Shimura Danzo don't even get along. The third Kazekage didn't seem to realize Yanagi's trap, or rather, he did realize it, but to him, the life and death of Shimura Danzo and Konoha were not important. The most important thing for him at the moment is not to investigate the source of the magnetic escape, but how to escape from this situation. The elite ninjas of the Sand Village under him completely lost their last chance of escape after Hitaki Sakumo joined the battlefield. Mr. Kazekage, didn't your teacher teach you that all is fair in war? Lord Danzo praised me for having the will of the root and has always been optimistic about me. Humph, despicable Konoha ninja, I've long known that Shimura Danzo, the sewer rat, is unreliable. But don't think that you can see the shadow of a village clearly just because you have some bloodline limit power. He no longer intended to waste time talking to Yanagi. The most important thing now was to find a way to escape. Although cage-level ninjas are powerful, they are still flesh and blood, and long periods of fighting will also make them feel tired. By the time Hitaki Sakumo is free, I may not have a chance to escape unscathed. Magnetic escape sand iron boundary technique. Following a low shout from the third Kazekage, the iron sand in the sky seemed to be given life, and they gathered into countless sharp iron spears. Under the control of the third Kazekage, these iron spears moved quickly in the air, intertwining with each other, and eventually formed a dense, thorny cage that imprisoned Yanagi in an extremely narrow area. Then, these iron spears shot towards Yanagi like cannonballs, with the sound of breaking through the air. Each shot contained deadly power, trying to pierce Yanagi's body. However, faced with this sudden attack, there was no trace of panic in Yanagi's eyes. Mr. Sandame Kazekage, since you are so anxious to dance, I will let you experience the despair your ancestors felt when facing Konoha. Wood release. The world of trees descends. Boom boom boom. As Yanagi's words fell, the surrounding ground began to shake, and huge trees broke out of the ground. They grew rapidly, with lush branches and leaves, forming a dense forest. These trees not only blocked the attack of the iron spear, but also firmly stuck the iron sand in the cage, making it impossible for the third Kazekage's magnetic escape ninjutsu to exert its due effect. How is this possible? The third Kazekage witnessed this scene and was shocked as never before. He had not expected that Yanagi could not only use wood release, but also summon a forest of this size in an instant. Yanagi stood in the tree world, looking firmly at the third Kazekage. Sir Kazekage, the power of wood release is far stronger than you think. Today, I will let you see what true despair is. Wind escape. Vacuum waves. Facing Yanagi's wood release attack, the third Kazekage reacted quickly and formed seals with both hands quickly. Dozens of rotating wind blades formed around him, like whirlwinds of death, strangling the attacking vines. Although the wind blades continued to strangle the trees that were surrounding him, the third Kazekage's offensive eventually began to seem unsustainable in the face of the wood release powered by Yanagi's endless chakra. In this case, we have to make a quick decision. Move. Magnetic style, sand iron Beyblade. Faced with such a situation, the third Kazekage knew that he could not delay, he could only input chakra again to activate the power of magnetic escape. Under the precise control of the third Kazekage, countless iron sands gathered from all directions. They rotated and gradually formed a huge, rapidly spinning iron sand gyroscope. This gyroscope was like a sharp drill, pointing directly to the location under the willow tree. The branches of trees along the way were easily destroyed by its rotation, as if nothing could stop its advance. Relying on the flying speed brought by magnetic escape, the third Kazekage kept moving on the battlefield, nimbly dodging the tree roots that were chasing him madly. Tisk, it turns out that the tree realm advent is still not enough to deal with cage-level warriors. Water style, water breaking wave. Base. After a crisp sound, a torrent of water suddenly gushed out of Yanagi's mouth. Under the precise control of Yanagi's powerful water attribute chakra, this stream of water was extremely concentrated into a high-pressure water line as thick as a thumb, showing amazing penetrating power. This thin line of water was like an indestructible divine weapon. It easily cut off the sand-iron gyroscope that the third Kazekage relied on, and rushed straight towards the third Kazekage in the distance. Its speed and force were unbelievable. Chapter 104. Oh no! It's the water breaker from Senju Tobirama. Magnetic style. Sand-iron wall. Faced with this sudden attack, the third Kazekage reacted quickly. He mobilized the power of magnetic escape to form a hard sand-iron wall, trying to block the water waves under the willow. Tisk tisk. The rapid water, which had been gathered into a line, hit the sand-iron wall, making a sharp and piercing sound. The sound was so sharp that it seemed to pierce a person's eardrum. The collision between the water line and the sand-iron wall splashed countless water and sparks. The scene was spectacular and intense, like a wild dance of elements. But in the face of the invincible cutting power of Shui Duanbo, the giant sand-iron shield was quickly cut in half by the rapids, showing that the power of Shui Duanbo far exceeded the expectations of the third Kazekage. After the water flow cut through the sand-iron wall, it continued to move forward, drawing a gorgeous arc, like a rainbow across the sky, and slashed straight towards the third-generation Kazekage. Not good. The Sandai Kazekage's heart tightened. He knew that water-breaking wave was powerful, but he didn't expect Yanagi's water escape technique to be so powerful that even his strongest defensive magnetic escape technique, the sand-iron wall, which he was proud of, could only block it for a dozen seconds. With a swish sound, the torrent swept through the body of the third Kazekage. Bang! The third Kazekage, who was split into two halves, turned into a ball of white mist and dissipated before his eyes. Tisk, it's indeed a shadow clone. The shadow is indeed difficult to deal with. It is still difficult to defeat him with conventional ninjutsu. Yanagi saw this, but he was not upset. He had expected this. After all, the opponent was the third Kazekage, who was known as the strongest in the Sand Village. Although his death in the original novel was very frustrating, it was more due to a sneak attack rather than lack of strength. Yanagishita recalled that the third Kazekage died in a sneak attack by Scorpion of the Red Sand, and his apprentice, the fourth Kazekage Raza, also died in a sneak attack by Orochimaru. Tisk tisk, they are indeed master and disciple, they are of the same bloodline, and their ancestors are weak in sneak attacks. I just don't remember if Gaara is also weak in this. Yanagi evaluated secretly in his heart, but at the same time he also admitted that both the third Kazekage and his apprentice were actually not weak in strength, at least they both had remarkable performances in the subsequent battles. Magnetic release Sandi Nai. Boo-hoo-hoo. The figure of the third Kazekage appeared under Yanagi, and he suddenly spread out the sand-iron wings behind him. In an instant, countless black iron feathers as sharp as daggers, with a whistling sound, attacked from all directions under the willow, forming a deadly storm. Yanagi was neither hasty nor slow. Facing this sudden attack, he waved his right hand, demonstrating his exquisite control over the magnetic chakra. The gold sand around him changed rapidly under his control, turning into a ball that wrapped himself tightly, forming an indestructible protective shield. Ding 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 ding. The iron sand feathers hit the gold sand balls, making a series of crisp metal collision sounds, like rain hitting banana leaves, continuous and endless. However, no matter how fierce the attack of the sand iron feathers was, the protective shield under the willow remained as solid as before, without the slightest shake. Magnetic escape. Sand iron triangular pyramid. The third Kazekage was not surprised at all by Yanagi's defense. He kept forming seals with his hands and used his own magnetic chakra to recall the overwhelming iron sand. Under his control, the iron sand was compressed at a high density, forming a triangular pyramid shape, and was fired towards Yanagi at a very fast speed, with its penetrating power and destructive power reaching an astonishing level. Clang! The triangular pyramid hit the gold ball hard, and this time, cracks quickly appeared on the gold ball. Wood release. Wooden man technique. The voice under the willow came from inside the gold sand ball. As his voice fell, the ground began to shake, and countless trees that had grown out of the ground quickly gathered together. In a short period of time, these trees gathered into a wooden man that was several times taller than the hill in the distance. At the same time as the wooden man was formed, the gold ball was pierced by the triangular pyramid. Bang! With a loud bang, the triangular pyramid was knocked flying by a punch from the huge wooden man, and hit the ground in the distance hard, causing a mountain-shaking earthquake. The wooden man stood on the battlefield like a guardian. Its huge body and powerful strength shocked all the ninjas who witnessed it. Yanagi's figure also landed steadily on top of the wooden man's head. After a successful attack, Yanagi did not give the third Kazekage a chance to breathe, and once again commanded the wooden man to pounce on the third Kazekage in the distance. This is the true power of the legendary god of ninja realm. How did the first generation build a village with such power? Facing the wooden man that was taller than a hill, the third Kazekage's attacks were completely ineffective. He could only dodge in panic, his heart filled with bitterness and powerlessness. Rumble. The continuous attack of the wooden man formed wave after wave of wind waves that were almost as strong as a gale, sweeping in all directions. The big trees below were uprooted, leaving only the gully ground, the surrounding rivers were blown away by the wind, leaving only the dry riverbed, the hills in the distance were razed to the ground in one blow. Wood release. It's all a bag technique. In an instant, countless huge arms rose from the ground and firmly grasped the third Kazekage in the air. The third Kazekage, who was already exhausted from being chased by the wooden man, had no idea that Yanagishita not only had the mental strength and chakra to perform such a ninjutsu while controlling such a huge giant. He was firmly grasped by the wooden hand and smashed hard into the wooden man. Oops! The third Kazekage tried to use the power of magnetic escape to control his body at a very fast speed, but the pulling caused harm to himself instead, and he had no time to dodge and was caught tightly in the hand of the wooden man. The third Kazekage felt unprecedented powerlessness under the oppressive feeling of the wooden man holding him tightly in his hand. The chakra in his body was instantly drained by the power of wood release, and his body seemed to be trapped in an invisible net, unable to move. Yanagi stood on top of the wooden man, calmly gazing at the bound third Kazekage. Don't worry, Lord Kazekage. I won't kill you. Since Lord Hokage has said that he will spare your life, you will not die until the third Hokage changes his mind. In the sand village, an atmosphere of shock and anxiety permeated. What? Impossible. I don't believe it. After hearing Yakang's latest battle report, Luo Sha couldn't believe it. The invincible teacher in his heart, the teacher who could easily suppress the tailed beasts alone, would actually be defeated. Calm down, Luo Sha. This is the truth. Master Kazekage was defeated. He was defeated by Yanagi himself. Yakang was also desperate about this fact. The Lord Kazekage, whom he regarded as a god, was defeated by his former opponent and became a prisoner of Konoha. After a long silence, Luo Sha's hoarse voice came again, admit defeat to Konoha. Without the teacher and Elder Cho, the Sand Village cannot withstand the offensive of other big countries. We must act before other countries. Chapter 105. The Land of Earth, Iwagakure Village, is surrounded by hard rocky mountains. This terrain gives it a natural defensive advantage, making it easy to defend and difficult to attack, providing a solid guarantee for the village's safety. At the same time, this terrain also limits the communication between Iwagakure village and the outside world to a certain extent, making it appear more closed and isolated. In the center of Iwagakure village, the tallest building is the Tsuchikage building, whose conical top has become the landmark of the village. There is a huge word earth engraved in the center of the building, which can be clearly seen from any corner of the village. In the tense atmosphere, a team of Iwagakure Enbu ninjas were hurriedly shuttling through the rocky path, rushing towards the Tsuchikage building. Lord Tsuchikage. The result of the war between Konoha and Tsunagakure is out. Tsunagakure was defeated and the third Kazekage was captured by Konoha ninjas. The leading Enbu ninja half knelt in front of a short middle-aged man with a prominent truffle nose, and reported the important news in a hurried tone. The third Tsuchikage Onoki flipped through the information in his hand and said in a deep voice, even that guy was captured? It seems that Konoha's foundation is still deep. What kind of extraordinary genius has appeared this time? Ever since the ninja world began to implement the ninja village system, Konoha has always been the strongest in the ninja world and has always been the #1 enemy of all the villages in the ninja world. However, the Iwagakure village developed steadily and rapidly with its tenacious and unshakable will of stone, while Konoha had experienced several wars and internal strife. The third Tsuchikage believed that one day the Iwagakure village would become the strongest. Yes, Lord Sandame, it's the young man who used wood release mentioned in the previous report. According to intelligence on the battlefield, he has become Konoha's new Nine Tails Jinchuriki. The Enbu ninja reported with a hint of awe in his tone. After all, he was facing Lord Tsuchikage, who possessed the only bloodline in the ninja world. And what? Unaki raised his head, his eyes sharp, and asked. Moreover, intelligence shows that he is suspected to have mastered the power of the Nine Tails and become a perfect Jinkriki. And in this battle with the third Kazekage, he has mastered the woodman technique of the first Hokage. The Anbu ninja added. Wood release plus the power of the Nine Tails. The third Tsuchikage Onoki couldn't help but stop flipping through the information, and when he mentioned wood release, he couldn't help but recall his past nightmare. Even now, when I think back to the man who was called the Shura of the ninja world, I can still feel the terrifying aura of that man. Fortunately, that man is dead, and he died in Konoha's internal strife. The ninja god who defeated this man also passed away not long after, otherwise there would be no place for other villages in the ninja world. The third Tsuchikage Nokia's thoughts drifted back to the end of that era. He still remembered the complicated expression on his teacher's face when he heard the news of the death of Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha. But Konoha is like a child favored by God. After experiencing countless internal and external troubles, it still produces many talented people. After the last war, talented ninjas such as Hitaki Sakumo, the three ninjas of Konoha, and now Yanagi who inherited Hashirama's wood release appeared one after another. Fortunately, the Uegakure village is not doing badly now. Lord Tsuchikage. How do we plan our operation this time? The Land of Thunder. The Hidden Cloud Village. This mysterious village is built on the top of a towering mountain, surrounded by clouds and mist, like a fairyland. From time to time, deafening thunder echoed in the sky, adding a bit of mystery and majesty to the village. The geographical location of the Hidden Cloud Village is unique. It is extremely hidden and almost isolated from the world. The steep mountains and misty clouds formed a natural barrier, making it difficult for any foreign ninja to invade easily. In the office of the Reikage building in the Hidden Cloud Village, the atmosphere was solemn. The burly third Reikage AI sat sideways on the sofa in the office. His burly figure formed a sharp contrast with the surrounding environment. He frowned as he listened to his secretary relaying the latest information about Konoha and Tsunagakure. From time to time, he flipped through tiny documents in his hands that did not fit his size at all. The scene was full of incongruity. But this is the characteristic of the Reikage of the Hidden Cloud Village. Each generation of Reikage looks big and strong, seems to lack patience, and is just a group of reckless men, but this is just their disguise. Beneath their rough appearance, they hide delicate minds and excellent strategic vision. After listening to the report, the third Reikage turned his gaze to the young man standing aside, who was the future fourth Reikage. Although he is still young, the third Reikage is very satisfied with his son and has long since determined his position as his successor. The third Reikage often brought the fourth Reikage with him and would occasionally hand over some matters to the young Reikage in order to train his abilities as a Kage. AI, is this Yanagi the Konoha genius you mentioned before? Yes, Dad, that's him. I didn't expect him to grow so fast. The fourth Reikage thought of the young man he once faced and the crushing defeat he had inflicted on him. He thought that the gap would narrow with his own efforts. But he didn't expect that after such a short period of time, he would leave him far behind. While he was still serving as his father's assistant, Yanagi had already sealed the tailed beast himself and captured the third Kazekage alive. AI, when facing someone stronger than you must be more determined. Your potential is far beyond that of ordinary people. The words of the third Reikage were full of encouragement and trust. He could see that his son had an obsession with Yanagi. This was not a bad thing. Sometimes, pressure was the motivation for practice. Dad, I understand. The fourth Reikage AI looked at his father with admiration in his eyes. In his mind, although Yanagi was powerful, he only defeated the weakest one-tailed beast. Moreover, the third Kazekage was captured alive by his peers, which was undoubtedly an insult to his father who was also a Kage. He believed that his father, the third Reikage, who was able to engage in hand-to-hand combat with the eight tails, the strongest tailed beast after it, was the true strongest in the ninja world. AI, very good. How do you think our cloud village should benefit from this war? The third Reikage nodded in satisfaction, then examined his son. Dad, I think the sand village suffered such heavy losses this time, why don't we get a piece of the pie? Stupid. Not to mention the distance between Wind Country and our Thunder Country, just the poor land of Wind Country, what benefit can it bring to us? Attacking Wind Country is nothing but chicken ribs. So what does Dad mean? Chapter 106. What does Earth/Reikage Sama mean? The third Tsuchikage's gaze was like a sharp sword, staring at the map of the Wind Country. He said fiercely, "Of course we have to attack the Wind Country, take a big bite, and grab a piece of fat meat from Konoha." The fourth Raikage turned his gaze to the young AI, with a hint of cunning in his voice, "Of course it's the land of Earth. Faced with this piece of fat meat, that old fellow Onoki will definitely not be able to resist. When the time comes, we will take the opportunity to set out from the sea and take a big bite out of the empty land of Earth. The land of water. The Hidden Mist Village. This hidden village is located deep in the mountains. Its territory is covered by thick fog all year round, as if it is isolated from the world, making it a mysterious ninja village." In the office of the Mizukage building, a roar suddenly broke the silence in the fog. "Mizuno Oki! What on earth are you thinking? Can the village take action against Konoha with its current strength? Thanks to the book friend for the guest appearance and giving the Mizukage a name. If anyone wants to be the third Kazekage or something like that, please let me know. The number of spots is limited." The third Mizukage's eyes flashed red, and he said coldly, "Master, I am the Mizukage. I have the final say on who the village should attack." "Humph, you're going to regret this, Shoyu." The man known as the Master, before leaving, looked at his old acquaintance, the third Mizukage, uttered some harsh words, and then left angrily. The atmosphere in the office suddenly became tense. An Anbu stepped forward and asked in a low voice, "Mizukage-sama, shouldn't we take some measures since the master is so rude?" The third Mizukage replied coldly, "No need, the priority now is to organize a ninja team and prepare to raid the land of fire." "Yes, Mizukage-sama." Seeing the master coming back, several ninjas quickly surrounded him and asked about the situation they were concerned about. "Master! What did the Mizukage say?" "Yeah, what happened to Mizukage-sama?" Another ninja asked immediately. Since he became Mizukage, his personality has changed drastically. Look at the policies he has implemented. Everyone in the village is in danger. Young ninjas have to kill each other. He said that only strong people are needed. Yes, he is extremely targeting our bloodline family. He is also from a bloodline family, but these people have long been resentful of the third Mizukage, and this time the third Mizukage's policy is clearly to arrange for them to die again. The current Konoha is not someone who can be easily provoked. Going there would be tantamount to committing suicide. So it is better to find the master. Only this powerful elder can persuade the mad third Mizukage. Under their expectant eyes, Master Yuan shook his head helplessly, with a hint of heaviness in his voice. "I'm sorry, everyone, I have tried my best. Even you can't persuade the Mizukage-sama. It seems that our Kirigakura is really going to become the village of blood mist as those people say." A ninja said sadly, his voice full of powerlessness and despair, "The blood that is flowing is our own people's blood." These words were like a thorn, piercing deeply into the hearts of everyone present. The Hidden Mist Village, which they were once proud of, has now become unrecognizable due to the policies of the Mizukage, and the future of the village has become unclear. Yuanshi looked at these ninjas with mixed feelings. He knew that his power was limited and he could not change the decision of the Mizukage, but he was still unwilling to give up. He took a deep breath and said firmly, "We can't give up hope. The Hidden Mist Village is our home. We must find a way to get the village back on the right track." In a secret laboratory somewhere in Konoha, it is filled with various complex instruments and flashing lights. "Hirahu! How's your experiment going?" Shimura Danzo's voice echoed in the laboratory, and there was a hint of urgency in his eyes. A white-haired man in a lab coat, Hokage, turned respectfully to Shimura Danzo, his face showing an excitement that was difficult to conceal. "Danzo-sama. Katra has been successfully cultivated. For Hirahu, who has been mediocre since childhood, he has been seeking recognition and proving his own value throughout his life. Among so many people, only Shimura Danzo admired him and recognized his talent. Others, including his three talented friends and his former hope, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, did not see his talent and did not recognize him. Only Lord Danzo became the light in his life, illuminating his way forward. Very good. Hirahu, you really didn't let me down. Quick! Take me to see the result." Danzo's voice was full of eagerness and excitement. He looked at Hirahu in front of him, and the joy on the corners of his mouth could no longer be suppressed. His path to becoming a god has begun. As long as his plan succeeds, he will gain power far beyond Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha and become a true ninja god. As a Hokage, and the greatest Hokage in the future. He will lead Konoha to eliminate other major powers and unify the ninja world. Yes, Lord Danzo. Please follow me. Hirako respectfully led Danzo Shimura through the laboratory corridor and came to a heavy door deep inside. Hirako opened the door carefully, and a strange smell hit him in the face. Lord Danzo, please look, this is the demon Gara needed for the demon Gara technique. Hokuro's voice was full of pride. With the strong support of Lord Danzo, the originally unsuccessful plan of cultivating Kisara was successfully developed in just a few months and reached the most critical stage of his ideal plan. In the laboratory, a strange plant was growing in a petri dish. Its body emitted a faint light, and its stems had strange patterns, as if it contained strong vitality and some magical power. Danzo stared at the plant, his eyes flashing with ambition and expectation. Very good, Biru. Now that we have Kiyomaru, when can we start the final plan? I'm afraid this won't work for now, Master Danzo. Obito's voice gradually became lower and lower. He disappointed Lord Danzo who valued him so much. Why? Danzo turned his head and stared at Hokuriko. His ambition and the current situation of Konoha did not allow him to wait any longer. The descendant of the Sinner Senju clan in Yanagi. This traitor to the will of Mr. Tobirama. He has become Shimura Danzo's most powerful enemy. A thorn in the eye. A thorn in the flesh. Once that brat learns about his past dealings from the defeated third Kazekage, how could he let it go? Hirahu took a deep breath and explained slowly, although the ghost bud Luo has been successfully cultivated, a series of experiments and adjustments are still needed to unleash its full power. We need to ensure that there are no mistakes, otherwise. Danzo frowned. He knew that there was truth in what Obito said, but his inner anxiety and impatience made it difficult for him to calm down. Finish these as soon as possible. I don't like waiting, and you must not let me down. Danzo finally overcame his inner madness with reason. His own safety was more important than anything else. There is one more thing, Master Danzo. The ninjas with bloodline limits also need to prepare. Chapter 107. Senior Sakumo, those bastards from Iwagakure are such a fool. We're fighting to the death here, but they just want to pick the fruits and eat them directly. Tsunade slammed her fist on the table in front of her. She was so excited that she couldn't calm down. Calm down, Tsunade-hime. There was a hint of helplessness in Hotaki Sakumo's voice. He looked at the table in front of him that had been reimbursed for the nth time this month, and thought to himself that Yanagi must have done something to Tsunade again. He couldn't help but think, couldn't they do less dog food showing? Senior, how can we stay calm in this situation? I really don't know what the old man is thinking. It has come to this point, why did he order us to stay here? We are already here. There was obvious dissatisfaction and confusion in Tsunade's tone. Since the third Sama has made such an arrangement, there is nothing we can do. The daimyo has already put pressure on the third Sama, demanding that we immediately negotiate with the Sand Village to maintain the peaceful status quo of the five great nations. Sakumo patiently explained the current situation. I don't know what Grandpa is thinking. Tsunade muttered in a low voice, since it was the request of the Fire Country daimyo, even the Hokage of Konoha could not ignore it. Tsunade could only sit down in depression, her heart was full of dissatisfaction and helplessness. Orochimaru sneered at Tsunade and said, "This is politics, Tsunade. Just like what Lukun said, the Lord is afraid of the Hokage's power being too great." Orochimaru, you. Tsunade wanted to refute, but when the words came to her lips, she couldn't refute. In fact, Tsunade herself agreed with what Orochimaru said in her heart. Okay, that's enough of this. As the ninjas of the village, we just have to obey the arrangements made by the Hokage. This time, let's just quietly wait for the results of the peace talks between Yanagi and Tsunagakure. Hotaki Sakumo hurried to comfort the two of them. He knew that these sensitive topics should not be discussed openly. I really don't know why the old man arranged for me and Jiraiya, that idiot, to go to the peace talks. Obviously, we are much more suitable than Jiraiya, that idiot author. Jiraiya sneezed several times, wiped his nose, and said to Yanagi beside him, "This must be the beautiful girls of Konoha thinking of me again. The pain of a legendary writer, Yanagi, are you envious? Do you want me to take you on this sacred path of a writer?" Yanagi glanced at Jiraiya who was talking nonsense with contempt, writing novels? Brother Jiraiya, it's not that I look down on you, but unless you completely change your career and write novels that men like to read, you will be a flop. Who writes novels these days? Even dogs don't write. There are as many flop writers as dogs. Jiraiya looked at Yanagi with an expression that seemed to have predicted something. You're getting into the entertainment business so soon. Ah, Yanagi, your wooden dragon cart is so fast. You really deserve it. Jiraiya smiled awkwardly and scratched the back of his head embarrassedly. The two of them were in the latest ninjutsu invented by Yanagi, the composite ninjutsu. The wooden dragon car technique. The wooden dragon travels 1,000 miles a day, and the magnetic chariot greatly increases the comfort of passengers with the help of magnetic levitation technology. In addition to the consumption of a few billion chakras, it is simply a must-have ninjutsu for home travel. You're terrible at changing the subject. Yanagi rolled his eyes at Jiraiya, complained a few times, and then continued to sit down and eat his barbecue. The aroma of barbecue filled the wooden dragon carriage, making people salivate. Anyway, it will be released sooner or later, and when the time comes, I must appreciate it. No, I must criticize these works that corrupt the young people in the ninja world. While chewing the skewers, Jiraiya asked Yanagi, how far is the sand village? What a shame, old man, you only sent 2 of us for such an important mission. It would be much better if Orochimaru and Tsunade were here. At this rate, it will be done soon. But, I can be the only one to handle this matter. I don't know what you are doing here, brother Jiraiya. Yanagi was eating barbecue, thinking about Tsunade's warm touch last night. Don't get me wrong, they are innocent. Yakura, calm down. Our current strength is no match for Iwagakure. The village's top priority is to negotiate peace with Konoha first, otherwise we will just die in vain. Luo Sha stood in front of a group of ninjas led by Yekeng and blocked them in the middle of the gate. Luo Sha, get out of the way. Are we just going to let those people born in Iwagakure destroy everything in our wind country? Yekeng's eyes were wide open with anger. Although she had known that the Iwagakure village would definitely not miss the opportunity when the sand village was weak, she did not expect that that group of newborns would be so cruel. Yakura. Luasha is also considering the village. Our current ninjas can barely even maintain the barrier of the village. Jialoi began to persuade his hot-tempered best friend. Yakura. As long as we can successfully negotiate with Konoha, and the teacher and the elders come back, we will have a chance to avenge the blood feud with Iwagakure sooner or later. Luo Sha hated Iwagakure who took advantage of the situation to rob, but he had to consider the life and death of the village when he was given the task. Since the new daimyo took office, the spending on the sand village has been reduced again and again. The sand village has always adopted a policy of elite troops, especially the 2 wars with Konoha, which resulted in the village having no one available except the ninjas who stayed behind and a very small number of ninjas who escaped from the battlefield by chance. The village's current strength is definitely not enough to engage in head-on battles with other villages. It can only wait for the 3rd Kazekage and Elder Cho to lead the thousands of ninjas captured by Konoha back to the sand village before it will have a chance to take revenge on the Iwagakure. Yekeng listened to what Luo Sha and Jia Lu Luo said. Although she was unwilling, she also understood that the situation was stronger than people. She took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down. I understand, Luo Sha, Jia Lu Luo. I will wait for the result of the peace talks, but if Konoha... There are no ifs, Yekeng. Luo Sha interrupted her and said helplessly, this time, no matter what Konoha's request is, no matter how excessive it is, we have no choice but to agree to it. Lord Luosha. A ninja reported to Luosha with sweat all over his forehead and heavy breathing. According to the report of the outer reconnaissance ninja team, 2 Konoha ninjas are riding a strange vehicle and approaching our sand village. The sand village is now in a state of being on the verge of death. Their own Kazekage has been captured by the enemy, and the ninjas of the sand village have completely lost the courage to resist Konoha. It looks like someone sent by Konoha to negotiate has arrived. Could it be him? Luo Sha shook his head, interrupting his thoughts, and said in a deep voice, prepare to welcome our distinguished guests. This peace talk is of vital importance to us, Sand Village. No need to greet us, we're already here. Chapter 108. Yanagi. Luo Sha and the others turned their eyes towards the direction where the sound came from, and saw 2 figures slowly descending from the sky. After the dust settled, their figures appeared clearly in front of everyone. Long time no see, Luo Sha, Jialuo Luo and Yekeng. Yanagi gently brushed off the non-existent dust on his body, stood still, and looked at the 3 people in front of him with different expressions with a calm and indifferent look. Hey, 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 the three youngsters on the opposite side, don't you see the most handsome toad sage Jiraiya in Konoha? Jiraiya, who was standing aside, looked at the silent people and grumbled in dissatisfaction. He stepped forward and did a series of funny moves. His exaggerated expression and movements successfully broke the solemn atmosphere in the venue. We have certainly heard of the famous Jiraiya-sama, one of the three great ninjas of Konoha. Raza and the others calmed down after being interrupted by Jiraiya. Their attitude became respectful and formal. Please invite the distinguished guest of Konoha to the Kazekage building to discuss the peace talks. No matter what complicated attitudes they and others have towards Yanagi, they now have only one goal, which is to succeed in the peace talks as soon as possible and stabilize the village. This is their responsibility as ninjas, and it is the only thing they can do now. You're welcome. We in Konoha are also adhering to the principle of mutual assistance and win-win, seeking common ground while reserving differences, and the core of peace in the ninja world. We came to your village for this peace negotiation. Jiraiya fluently repeated the words and attitude that Yanagi had taught him. According to Yanagi's strategy, the Sand Village had no room to refuse this peace talk. As a major country in the ninja world, Konoha must maintain its style and influence. Therefore, their strategy was a combination of coaxing and intimidation, with Jiraiya playing the role of easing the atmosphere and conveying goodwill, while Yanagi showed some of Konoha's muscles and intimidation when necessary. Master Jiraiya, well said. Please come in. This is our Kazekage building. An office has been arranged for this peace talks. Raza felt relieved when he felt Jiraiya's friendly attitude, and the huge rock in his heart fell to the ground a little. As long as Konoha was still willing to communicate, it would be fine. Yanagishita said nothing and followed Jiraiya, who had a smile on his face, into the building. After entering the door, Luo Sha invited a few people to sit in the first seat, and he took Yekeng and a few others to sit in the lower seats, showing a humble attitude to the extreme. After Yanagi and Jiraiya sat down, they didn't rush to speak. Instead, they tasted the Wind Country specialty tea and fruits prepared by the Sand Village. The fruits in the desert area are delicious, much better than those in Konoha. Luo Sha and the others looked at Yanagi and Jiraiya and saw that they had no intention of speaking, and they knew that they were waiting for them to bow their heads first. He let out a long sigh in his heart, knowing that when you are under someone's roof you have to bow your head. Luo Sha spoke first with a smile on his face. Master Yanagi and Master Jiraiya, I wonder what Konoha wants from this peace negotiation. Raza had already prepared himself to be slaughtered by the Konoha lion, and he could make up his mind to agree to all the conditions except those that the tailed beasts and the Kazekage could not give. Our request this time is very simple. First, since this war was started by you, the Sand Village, then all the supplies consumed by our Konoha and the pensions for the sacrificed ninjas should be compensated by you, the Sand Village. Do you have any objection to this? Jiraiya looked at Raza and the others, swallowed the fruits slowly, and started Konoha's plan. Although Luo Sha was prepared, he still felt pressured when he heard such conditions. It's fair. Although the village's finances are tight, we can just grit our teeth and go to the mining area with the teacher more often. Luo Sha then agreed, this is what we should do. We in Sunagakure agree, but the village can't come up with so much money at once. I hope Konoha village can understand. Yanagi followed up Jiraiya's words and proposed Konoha's further request, it's okay. Our third kami has foresight and understands your Sand Village's conditions. He proposes to remind you that the compensation amount can be made up by your village's mission income and trade transactions. Of course, we Konoha are not bad people. We can split these profits 30% and 70%. Yekeng whispered to Jiaoyuo beside him, when did Konoha become so good? They only want 30%. Jiaoyuo looked at her best friend who was not good at math, and finally understood why Lord Feng Ying did not choose her as his apprentice. Yeah, the 30 to 70 he mentioned is us 30% and Konoha 70%. What? You Konoha are going too far. Yekeng understood now and jumped up in anger. Jiraiya said gently, young master, as a great country, we should be more tolerant. How about this? I agree on behalf of the teacher, we will split the profits with the Sand Village 50-50. Yekeng, sit down. Luo Sha quickly held down the excited Yekeng, and his attitude became respectful and grateful. Master Jiraiya, thank you for your consideration. We in the Sand Village are grateful. Jiraiya looked at Luo Sha who was serious, then looked at Yanagi, and finally realized the heart of the people who play politics. He thought to himself that the old man only needed 40%, but he remained calm on the surface. Ahem, the last one. Jiraiya cleared his throat and continued to propose Konoha's conditions, in order to prevent the Sand Village from being blinded by greed and doing things that destroy the peace of the ninja world. The third Hokage hopes that the Sand Village will send outstanding talents to Konoha every year to receive peace education. This request was made by Yanagi to the third Hokage. On the surface, it seemed to be for the sake of peace, but in fact it was also a kind of restraint that Konoha had on the Sand Village. Through education, Konoha can influence the younger generation of Sand Village, thereby ensuring to a certain extent that the future actions of Sand Village will not threaten the peace of the ninja world again. In Yanagi's mind, after he further transforms Konoha, those geniuses of Sand Village who are accustomed to Konoha's lofty ideals will become his springboard for further evolution of the ninja world. Lord Jiraiya, isn't this one a little too harsh? Although Luo Xie hadn't figured out the specific harms of this one, he instinctively felt that this one was more harmful than the first one. Daikazekage, we in Konoha have already made a lot of concessions in the name of peace. If you have no intention of peace talks, I can use the Bokujin Jutsu again in your Sand Village. Yanagi looked at Luo Xie seriously, and emphasized the word on behalf of very seriously, reminding him all the time that your Feng Ying is still in his hands. I agree on behalf of the Sand Village. But can Konoha send Lord Kazekage and his men back as soon as possible? I'm sure your village is also aware of the situation in the Uegakure village. Jiraiya said apologetically, I'm sorry, Raza. Before your village makes our Konoha's conditions public and begins to implement them, Lord Kazekage will need to stay in Konoha for a while. Then? Uegakure. I'll tell them at Uegakure that I'm in charge of the Sand Village now. Chapter 109. In this case, I agree to all of Konoha's conditions on behalf of the Sand Village. I will announce this news immediately, and I hope Konoha can send someone to hand over the relevant matters as soon as possible. Yanagi's words have already made clear Konoha's position and determination. Raza can only accept this reality, while silently praying in his heart that Konoha can withstand the attack of Uegakure. Humph, everyone can brag, but you only have two people to rely on. Do you think you can do it? Yekeng snorted coldly, and her words revealed her doubts about Yanagi and Jiraiya's strength. Even the strong will get tired and their chakra will be exhausted. If it is an encounter battle, they can still break through with their strong strength, but in a defensive battle, they can only fight to the death. Especially with such a large defense position of the Sand Village, it is simply a daydream. Men can't say no. Jiraiya blurted out the words instinctively, but regretted it as soon as he said it. He secretly blamed Yanagi for always emphasizing this sentence to him. Yanagi looked at Jiraiya with disdain, thinking to himself that ever since the change in his relationship with Tsunade, this guy seemed to have started to let himself go. Yekeng blushed and rolled his eyes a few times. Bah, rascal. All men are bad. If you can't do it, just arrange for reinforcements to come. Otherwise, send our people back. We in Tsunagakure have our word. Luo Xie and Jiraiya, you are naive. Then why do you understand? Yanagi took a step forward, came in front of Yekeng, lowered his head and looked at her calmly. You are right, but I refuse. One more thing, I am enough to deal with Uegakure alone. So handsome. So manly. Yekeng felt the scent of star hormones coming from Yanagi, and his heart felt like a deer beating wildly. Yekeng. There are enemies on the other side. But he's so handsome. He's bragging. But he's so handsome. Is this girl crazy? Yanagi looked at Yekeng, who was nodding and shaking his head frantically, and wondered if his domineering aura was too strong and frightened her. He hurriedly moved closer to see if there was something wrong with Yekeng. Humph, just survive first. Don't, ow. Yekeng also reacted, and with a blushing face, he gently pushed away Yanagi who was right in front of him. Wait, don't talk. Yanagi stepped forward and pressed Yekeng's mouth with his index finger while he was speaking. Woo-woo. Yekeng felt the tenderness on his lips, and could only sigh in his heart, this boy's fingers smell so good, so beautiful. How could a boy's hands be so perfect? Sorry, Yekeng, it was just an emergency. Yanagi quickly withdrew his hand that was pressing on Yekeng's lips. Although it felt good, he was really not a hooligan. What's wrong, Yanagi? Is there any emergency? Jiraiya had heard from Tsunade that Yanagi's perception ability was very strong, and it seemed that he had sensed something. Well, a large number of ninja troops are approaching the defense line of the sand village. Yanagi's expression became serious. What do you mean? Although Jiraiya and the others admired Yanagi's strength from the bottom of their hearts, they still couldn't believe that they could feel what was happening outside the Tsunagakure defense line from the center of Iwagakure village. Knock, knock, knock. After a series of awkward knocks on the door, a ninja opened the door and hurriedly walked to Luo Sha, as if he had something to say. Luo Sha quickly said, Konoha is already our Tsunagakure's most steadfast ally, just tell us what you want to say, no need to be shy. Although he didn't know how his village and Konoha had gone from being mortal enemies not long ago to being unbreakable allies now, but since Lord Raza had said so, he should just do as the adults told him to do. Report from the front line, a large group of Iwagakure ninjas are approaching our defense line. They are suspected to be the vanguard of the Iwagakure village. Jiraiya and Raza exchanged glances in shock. Basic operations are nothing. Yanagi sighed calmly, wondering why his system was not a shocking system. Although I don't understand what riddles the big shots are guessing, the most important thing now is to quickly find a way to deal with those Iwagakure bastards. Lord Luosha, what should we do? It's okay, you go back first. I have my own arrangements for this matter. Go. Luosha waved his hand to signal him to leave. After the ninja left, he looked at Yanagi seriously and said, Mr. Lu, it's not that we look down on you. This is a matter of great importance. The overall situation is more important. Can we allow Yekeng to lead some ninjas to follow you in case of emergency? There was a hint of pleading in Luo Sha's tone. No matter how powerful Yanagi was, the safety of his village could not be entirely entrusted to the hands of others. This was not a decision a wise leader should make. Well, fine. I don't care. A good show needs some applauding audiences. However, you are too slow. I will take Yekeng over first. You can arrange the others yourself. Yanagi agreed readily. He reached out and grabbed Yekeng's arm, and before Yekeng was prepared, he disappeared from everyone's sight. The Flying Thunder God technique is still so fast. Jiraiya couldn't help but sigh. Hey, are you okay? Yanagi looked at Yekeng in his arms. Wasn't this woman the future hero of Sand Village? Was her health so poor? Obviously, it's just, ugh. Yekeng tried hard to speak, but a dizziness from the loss of spatial sense rushed into his brain again. Okay, it's all my fault. Who knew that a woman like you would be in such poor health? Just a little space teleportation would turn you into this. Yanagi dodged Yekeng's sudden attack, caught Yekeng's body again, and patted her back gently, thinking to herself, Nawaki and the others were fine the first time. After a while, Yekeng, who had recovered, was about to complain a few words, but after noticing the scenery in front of her, she only wanted to say, Monster! How much chakra do you have? It takes at least 2 hours for a Jonin to reach the sand village from here, and you got there in no time. Moreover, isn't this place beyond the defense range of our sand village? It's okay. Get ready. The people from Iwagakure will pass by here in about 10 minutes. Yanagi placed his hand on his forehead and sensed it carefully. It had been a long time since he had sensed it so carefully since his perception ability had improved. Okay, no matter how many people there are, I can help you hold back 2 Jonin teams at most. It's all your fault that you came too quickly. I didn't have time to bring some detonating tags. While checking his equipment, Yekeng looked at Yanagi with resentment. You're the one who's quick. And did you misunderstand something? How can a man's dignity be questioned? Believe it or not, try it one day? What? Yekeng didn't have time to react to Yanagi's words while driving. I mean, are you ready for the show? Yanagi looked at the Iwagakure team that had arrived not far away and spoke coldly to Yekeng. Chapter 110. Are you Yekeng from Tsunagakure? Are you planning to come here and die? Under Yekeng's alert, more than 30 Iwagakure ninjas surrounded the 2 men. One of the ninjas with brown hedgehog hair stood out and looked at Yekeng for a while, then seemed to have remembered something. Boss, this woman is quite pretty. Why don't we capture her alive and make her your wife? An Iwagakure ninja suggested half-jokingly. That's right, boss. Your explosive release and her scorch release are a perfect match. Maybe the child you give birth to will be able to inherit the dust release from Tsuchikage-sama. Another ninja followed suit. What a joke, you bunch of ugly bastards, come here if you have the guts, others may be afraid of your Iwagakure explosive troops, but I, Yakang, am not. Yakang responded angrily, her chest heaving with excitement, almost going from ordinary to extraordinary. Hey! What did you say? The Iwagakure ninjas retorted angrily. How dare you insult our Iwagakure's elite troops? Their voices revealed the anger of being provoked, and the atmosphere suddenly became tense. Okay, Yakang, I am the protagonist this time, and you as the audience should stop stealing the show. Yanagi stood aside, patted Yakang's shoulder gently, and motioned her to retreat to a safe place. Hey, kid, who the hell are you? Just because your hair has grown out, you're thinking about being a hero and saving the damsel in distress. The Iwagakure ninjas laughed. Who are you? Xiao did not follow his subordinates in making a fuss. He could feel that the young man in front of him was no simple man. Yanagi's approach made his chakra unconsciously mobilized. Wood style, 4-pillar prison technique. After accumulating momentum for such a long time, Yanagi's sudden action frightened the hunter on the opposite side so much that he hurriedly retreated dozens of steps, and even his subordinates followed suit and retreated without knowing why. Hey! You bastard! The enemy is over there! Hey! Yakang, who was fully prepared to attack, found himself in a daze, restrained by Yanagi's technique. No, no problem. Just stay here and be a beautiful spectator. Leave these people to me. Yanagi turned around and said to Yakang easily, then turned to the demolition team opposite. He said I'm beautiful, is he complimenting me on my good looks? Yakang was secretly happy, and then he reacted, Yakang, oh Yakang, why are you so obsessed with male beauty that you have become so decadent, but the cage of wood release is really hard. Hey, kid, are you planning to give this little beauty to us in exchange for your life? Ha 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 ha. One of the Iwagakure ninjas laughed recklessly. Shut up, idiot! Shouting at his idiot subordinates, Xiao turned to Yanagi and said, this would release, are you Yanagi from Konoha? Well, I didn't expect that. I'm pretty famous in the ninja world. Yanagi responded confidently. His attitude was calm, and he didn't seem to take the enemy in front of him seriously. This is a matter between Iwagakure and Tsunagakure. Are you, Konoha, sure you want to interfere? Xiao asked vigilantly. He knew that Yanagi's strength should not be underestimated, and if Konoha really intervened, the situation would become more complicated. No, you are wrong. This is a matter between Konoha and Sand Village. The ones who interfered are the bastards from Iwagakure. Is there really nothing to discuss? Do you want to be the first to do so? That's right, either you kill me or I kill you. Although the third Tsuchikage had instructed that giving up the mission would not be considered a failure if they encountered someone from Konoha, especially the young man in front of them. But as the head of the explosive unit, an elite force famous in the ninja world of Iwagakure, he would never allow himself to suffer such a shame of retreating without a fight. Explosive Escape Thunder Fist. It has appeared. It's the boss's unique Kekii Genkai explosion release technique. It's the boss's most powerful attack that hits all the chakra in the body. If it hits once, the enemy will be reduced to ashes in the explosion. The Iwagakure ninjas shouted excitedly. They were full of confidence in Kari's strength, as if they had already seen the scene of Yanagi being blown to pieces. They had seen such a scene countless times, and today would be no exception. Hey, is that all the strength you have? How is that possible? My full strength attack. The boss's full strength attack was actually blocked. Xiao looked at the seemingly fragile tree in front of him, but it was able to absorb all of his explosion chakra the moment it came into contact with it. It seems that your little brother talked a little too much today. Looks like someone needs to teach them how to shut up. Yanagi's voice was calm and indifferent, and his eyes swept over the whispering younger brothers, as if he was examining a group of insignificant ants. Danger! Be careful! Get out of here! There was only a faint blue light left of Yanagi in front of him. Xiao did not forget what Lord Tsuchikage had told him, that Yanagi possessed the Flying Thunder God technique, the fastest ninjutsu in the ninja world. Sorry, your reminder is not as fast as my sword. Yanagi looked at Xiao with an apologetic look on his face and shook the sword lightly. The blood on the sword was shaken off like morning dew, and the blood-red color of the sword became even more enchanting. Show! Down the well! Iwagakure's most elite demolition troops, more than 30 elite jonin, are no match for Yanagi's sword. Xiao watched as more than 30 companions who had been with him day and night lost their lives in front of him, and his legs trembled uncontrollably. Roar! I will avenge them! Xiao was angry and roared, but looking at Yanagi who was standing at the edge of the crowd, no matter how hard he tried or how angry he was, he just kept on looking at her. The body that used to have precise control over every muscle was now out of control, with only the legs still shaking unconsciously. Yanagi looked at the Xiao who had completely lost the heart of a strong man, and all interest in killing him disappeared completely. A ninja who has lost his courage is nothing more than a coward with only strength. Carrie, you are lucky. I don't intend to take your life. Go back and tell the third Tsuchikage that Sand Village is now our Konoha's ally. This is my territory. If you dare to stretch out your hand, be prepared to have your hand chopped off. If you dare to step over, be prepared to have your feet chopped off. Damn it! Tsuchikage-sama won't let you go. Xiao could only stand there helplessly in rage, just like a weak person who could only pray that the gods would punish his enemies. Let's go, Yakang, this team of Iwagakure has been eliminated, let's go first. When Yanagi heard what Xiao said, he ignored him and instead went to release the wood escape cage that trapped Yakang. Should we really ignore him? After all, he is an elite jonin of Iwagakure. Feeling the changes around him, Yakang hurriedly woke up from his domineering attitude towards Yanagi and pointed at Xiao who was not far away. No need for that. He is useless as a ninja. We should leave now. Yanagi stepped forward and grabbed Yakang's outstretched hand, launching the Flying Thunder God technique. Don't. Chapter 111. The most elite troops of Iwagakure were eliminated in one round? They didn't even use wood release. It was an unspeakable pain. Those elite troops were the result of his years of hard work and the pride of the Iwagakure village. These were not just weeds on the roadside, they were more than 30 jonin, enough to wipe out the ninjas of a small country, but they were completely wiped out in one mission. Lord Tsuchikage, you have to avenge these brothers. Your dust release is the only bloodline elimination in the ninja world, and it will definitely be able to destroy that Shura. Xiao's memories were filled with blood and death. The images of his subordinates falling down in despair kept appearing before his eyes, their eyes filled with desire for life and expectations of Xiao. Those scenes lingered in his mind like a nightmare, and only when his eyes fell on Lord Tsuchikage could he find a moment of peace. Shura. A character like the Shura of the ninja world has appeared in Konoha again, but he has the power of the god of the ninja world. Is it a combination of the two? It seems that his life must be ended before he grows up. Hori, you go down first. We, Iwagakure, will never forget the revenge of the demolition team. Xiao's figure seemed a little dazed under the command. He stood up and left slowly, his whole body a shell without a soul. Seeing Xiao's distraught look, a trace of sympathy flashed in Huangta's eyes. He said softly, Xiao seems to have suffered a great blow. I once experienced a similar setback, and it was a long and difficult road to recovery. Alas, if Xiao can't get out of the nightmare in his heart, his journey as a ninja will be over. Onoki sighed heavily, knowing that the shock suffered by Carrie was not trivial, just like when he faced the dreaded Shura of the ninja world. The opponent's terrifying aura alone was enough to destroy the will of any ninja, but he was able to remember the will of stone, step out of the opponent's shadow, and his tenacious character allowed him to reach where he is today. Since Konoha has already taken action, old man, should we consider evacuating? The harvest this time is already sufficient. If we continue, I am afraid that something unexpected will happen. I always have a bad feeling in my heart. Although the Iwagakure army was unstoppable on the battlefield in the Land of Wind and did not encounter any decent resistance from the Sand Village, he still felt uneasy. Yellow Earth, your intuition is right. Onoki stared at Yellow Earth and shook his head helplessly. With our high-profile actions, it is impossible for the hidden Cloud Village to be unaware of it. Onoki looked at his son with some worries in his heart. Huang Tu was already quite outstanding in strength, but he was always a little short of understanding the secrets of dust release and political strategy. Noki is already middle-aged, and although his strength is still at its peak, he begins to feel inadequate as the years go by. However, the village is facing a period of transition. Although the strength of the middle and lower levels has been steadily developing, the huge Iwagakure village cannot find a qualified candidate. It seems that it still has to rely on itself to hold on for a few more years, hoping that a genius who can inherit its dust release will appear in a few years. Then should we quit while we are ahead? Huang Tu's voice was hesitant, and he looked at his father. And the daimyo has already sent an envoy, suggesting that we withdraw our troops. No, Onoki's voice was firm, his eyes revealing far-sighted wisdom. This time, you lead half of the ninjas to defend, but don't act too hastily. Why do you do this? Huang Tu frowned and asked in confusion, we shouldn't let the enemy take advantage of us. Stupid. Onoki's voice was filled with a hint of blame, but more of a teaching to his son. Without the threat of external enemies, how could the daimyo willingly support the development of our village? Sometimes, the existence of enemies is the source of our strength. I understand, father. Huang Tu's eyes flashed with enlightenment, and he began to understand his father's deep meaning. Then you are not really planning to attack the sand village, right? No, of course not. Even if I could, I wouldn't do such a stupid thing. My target is that young seedling. He picked up the information on the table, and a cold murderous intent flashed in his eyes, like the cold wind in winter, biting and cold. You mean Yanagi? Huang Tu's voice was filled with doubt. Are you overestimating him? After all, he is just a ninja with a bloodline limit. Huang Tu looked at his father in surprise. He had never seen Onoki so murderous. In his memory, his father was always like a hard stone, tenacious, steady as a mountain, and never revealing his emotions easily. However, now, Onoki's eyes were full of determination and coldness, which made Huang Tu feel unprecedented pressure. You don't understand, Huang Tu. Onoki's voice was low and powerful, the power of wood releases far beyond what is shown before our eyes. The power of the god of ninja is not something that you, the juniors who have never experienced it, can imagine. Even if there is only a slight possibility, I will never allow it to exist. The information in Onoki's hand, under the influence of an invisible force, slowly turned into countless tiny fragments. They gently fell from his palm, like petals withering in autumn, silently announcing the imminent end of a life. The old man is serious this time. Huang Tu was not happy. Instead, his eyes followed the falling debris, and an indescribable bitterness surged in his heart. It seems that Yanagi can't escape this time. Huang Tu thought of the brief but memorable relationship with Yanagi. It seemed that they would have to say goodbye forever without even having the chance to say goodbye. On the vast sea of the ninja realm, the storm was like a wild dancer, interweaving with the sea water to form a thrilling picture. The waves rolled, the wind howled, and it seemed as if the whole world was trembling in this storm. A Kumagaku ninja stood on the observation deck. His voice pierced through the howling of the storm and he shouted loudly, Lord Ai! This storm is too fierce. Please return to the cabin to avoid the wind and waves. Jinbai, don't worry, the future fourth Reikage, Ai, stood on the watchtower. His voice was firm and powerful, piercing through the roar of the storm. This is just a small wave, not enough to stop us from moving forward. Keep moving forward, don't worry about me, our goal is to explode the chrysanthemum of Iwagakure on time. Ai enjoyed the salty and wet sea breeze and the fierce waves hitting his strong body. Every impact made him feel an indescribable excitement. This was his first time leading a team to perform a mission alone. His mood was like this storm, surging, full of power and passion. Chapter 112. Boom boom boom. A hurried knock on the door interrupted Yanagi's tryst with the goddess of his dreams, even though they were almost at the crucial step. Come in. Yanagi's voice was a little lazy. He scratched his hair which was a little messy due to sleep and spoke casually. The door was pushed open and Yeking walked in. The scene in front of her made her scream in surprise, Ah, why are you not wearing any clothes? What she saw was Yanagi's slightly thin but well-defined body, with a few abdominal muscles faintly visible under the half-covered pajamas, exuding an inadvertent charm. Well, we are all children of the ninja world, we don't care about trivial matters. Yanagi answered nonchalantly, stretching himself lazily with a satisfied smile on his face. Although he wanted to continue enjoying this peaceful morning, he knew that Yeking must have something important to tell him since he came to see him so early. Yeking turned her head away embarrassedly, but couldn't help but steal a few glances from the corner of her eyes, and then her voice was a little anxious. The third Tsuchikage sent a letter of challenge, inviting us to fight tomorrow. What should we do? Do? No, Yeking, leave the Tsuchikage to me. I'm not interested in the other minions. You guys can handle them. Yeking's words almost triggered Yanagi's DNA towards demons and beasts, but luckily he reacted quickly. Okay, it's settled. I'm leaving first. She covered her face, turned around and left. Her speed was so fast that it was almost comparable to Yanagi's teleportation technique. Yanagi looked at the bloodstains on the ground, and a glimmer of understanding flashed in his eyes. Why didn't I realize that this girl was so fast before? Hey, why is there blood on the ground? I understand, it must be her period. I'm sorry, I will definitely develop sanitary pads in the future, that would be a great deed. But shouldn't a woman's period cover her lower body? Why does she cover her face? This is a strange ninja world. Yanagi looked at the bloodstain on the ground, feeling puzzled, and began to fantasize about his plan to get rich. After Yekeng hurriedly cleaned his face, only one thought remained in his mind: it's so big. The next day, the armies of Iwagakure and Tsunagakure confronted each other on a plain not far from the Tsunagakure village. The one coming is Yanagi from Konoha. A short figure floated out from the Iwagakure army and landed right in the middle of the two armies. Exactly. Yanagi used the teleportation technique to appear in front of him. Little devil, you dared to show up in front of me when you killed me. Aren't you very brave? The third Tsuchikage floating in the air looked at the young man in front of him. Although he looked mature, he was actually still underage. Thinking about his own Iwagakure, where there was a lack of successors, Noki became even more murderous towards Yanagi. Third Tsuchikage-sama, every generation has its own talented people, and each has been at the top for hundreds of years. You are already old, so don't force yourself to stay up all the time. Be careful of your lumbar spine. Yanagi looked indifferent to Noki's murderous intent. Although Noki's dust release was a big threat in the eyes of others, it was just a minor trouble to him. After all, a ninja with high attack and low defense is ultimately fragile. Noki snorted coldly, humph. You are quite good at talking, I just hope your body can be as good as your mouth. Don't blame me as your elder for not giving you a chance, you should strike first. Then I have to thank you, wood release. Tree world arrives. Boom boom boom. As the jutsu began, the ground began to shake, as if a powerful life force was surging underground. Countless dense vines and trees broke out of the ground, growing at an alarming rate, instantly turning the surroundings into a dense forest. Every vine and branch was full of strength, and they rushed to stretch towards Onoki, trying to bind him tightly. However, Noki was not intimidated by this sudden attack. There was a hint of determination in his eyes, and then he raised his palm. A dazzling white light burst out from his palm, like a sword of holy judgment, carrying unparalleled power. He shouted softly, "Dust release, limit separation technique." In an instant, they were like sharp blades, sweeping across all the branches and vines. The entire forest was completely stripped away by this force, reduced to its most basic atomic state, and dissipated into the air. The power of bloodline elimination really should not be underestimated. Yanagi's voice penetrated the dense smoke and reached Unaki's ears clearly, with a hint of admiration that was hard to conceal. The flying thunder god of Senju Tobirama. Onoki frowned, humph, what a troublesome guy. Although Noki never had the opportunity to compete with Tobirama Senju personally, he heard many stories about this legendary ninja from his teacher. Senju Tobirama may not be as strong in combat as his brother Senju Hashirama, but his talent in scientific research is unmatched. He has researched many forbidden techniques that are feared by everyone. The space ninjutsu performed by the young man in front of him is one of Tobirama's many masterpieces, and Yanagi, who has space ninjutsu, will undoubtedly be very difficult to deal with. But even Tobirama Senju, who invented this ninjutsu, is dead, not to mention his successor. No matter how powerful your ninjutsu is, it's useless if you don't have space to perform it, young man. The third Tsuchikage, Onoki, soared into the air like an arrow. His hands formed seals at an astonishing speed, and in a flash, he had completed the seals of 2 ninjutsu in succession. Earth Escape, Rock Fist Technique. Earth Escape, Super Heavy Rock Technique. I saw a circle of solid rock quickly wrapped around his right arm, as if he was wearing an indestructible armor. And with the help of the super-weighted rock technique, Onoki's body fell suddenly, and the speed was so fast that it seemed that even the air was compressed. His right arm, with the power of rock, smashed down towards Yanagi like a mountain collapsing, unstoppable. Yanagi felt a huge pressure from above. If this attack was carried out, the consequences would be disastrous. Even with his extraordinary body, he would be half dead. Old man, I can tell you the same thing. No matter how powerful a move is, it's useless if it can't hit the target. Although he could use the Flying Thunder God technique to dodge again, Yanagi now has the ability to face the crisis head-on. Wood release. Wooden man technique. Rumble. At the moment when the third Tsuchikage's attack was about to arrive, a pair of huge arms broke out of the ground. They protected Yanagi firmly underneath like guardian gods. The third Tsuchikage's unstoppable attack was completely blocked by the sudden appearance of the wooden man. Yanagi flipped over and jumped onto the top of the wooden man, looking at the third Tsuchikage below. The wooden man's body completely emerged from the ground in an instant. You have really grown to this point. Onoki's voice was filled with a hint of surprise, and at the same time, there was praise for the younger generation. With time, it won't be impossible for you to completely inherit Hashirama Senju's ninjutsu and the power of wood escape. Chapter 113. Yanagi said to Kyuubi in the spiritual space, Kurama. Are you ready? Give it to me. It was all because of the old man in front of him that Yanagi suddenly thought of this strange move. He, the dignified nine-tailed master, was pulled into work again, and he must let him see how powerful he is. Onoki, times have changed. Wood release. Wooden man armament. As his right hand touched the wooden man, tree roots began to quickly spread on the wooden man's shoulders. They entangled and deformed, and finally formed a pitch-black hole facing Unaki. What is this? A trace of doubt flashed in Onoki's eyes. He looked at the originally majestic wooden man, and his arm had undergone strange changes. Among those changes, he could feel a trace of unusual chakra fluctuations. Yin-yang chakra began to gather in large quantities inside the barrel of the wooden man's arm, and the purple light from the muzzle attracted the surrounding air to form a vortex storm. What a joke! A trace of shock flashed in Onoki's eyes, and a strong wave of fluctuations surged in his heart. As the third-generation Tsuchikage of the Hidden Rock Village, he was very familiar with this kind of fluctuation. Every time the two-tailed beast Jinkriki of the Hidden Rock Village went berserk, he personally dealt with them. And now, the fluctuation he felt was clearly the power of the tailed beast ball. And the power this time was far beyond anything he had ever seen before. After all, Yanagi is the first perfect Jinkriki in the ninja world who can release the tailed beasts from his body. Facing the legendary tailed beast ball, the strongest tailed beast, Onoki dared not be careless at all. Chen escape. The art of peeling off the original world. Although he was shocked, he did not hesitate at all. He quickly released his dust release, which was his ultimate secret as the third Tsuchikage. As he completed the seal, a powerful force burst out from his body, and a dazzling white light formed between his hands. This white light was like a sharp blade, cutting through the space and pointing directly at the tailed beast ball that was about to explode. Senjutsu. Wooden man armament. Yin-yang tailed beast raise Nan. As Yanagi shouted, the air around him seemed to tremble. The chakra fluctuations in the wooden man's right arm rose violently until it reached a peak. This move was created by Yanagi through the ingenious fusion of the complete yin and yang power of the nine tails, his own fairy arts, and the wood release bloodline limit, creating a change in the properties of the raise Nan. Its power is far greater than the regular nine-tailed beast ball condensed by the nine-tail itself. But because this power is too strong, Yanagishita cannot control it directly without entering the nine-tails chakra mode, and can only release it through the wood releases woodman technique. That's why there is this wooden man weapon trick, which transforms the wooden man's arm into a special launching platform to focus the destructive energy at one point. Rumble. The white dust release and the purple raise Nan collided fiercely, causing a storm that even forced the warring parties in the distance to use ninjutsu to resist the terrifying aftermath. How can it be? Onoki exclaimed in his heart. Since he mastered dust release, this was the first time he encountered a force that could compete with his dust release. Dust release, as the only bloodline in the ninja world, has always been his greatest reliance and pride. However, Yanagi's attack made him feel unprecedented pressure and challenge. This move is definitely not an ordinary tailed beast ball, but a ninjutsu that incorporates multiple attribute changes, and goes a step further to create a jutsu that surpasses bloodline elimination. What kind of power is this? Luo Sha exclaimed. The gold dust around him lost control and fell to the ground, but he didn't notice it. His attention was completely attracted by the battle in front of him. The third Sama's dust release was actually blocked. Shao originally saw that Yanagi's wood release was easily resolved by the third Tsuchikage Noki's dust release, and he was already looking forward to seeing the end of this Shura. But how can it be? Dust escape was actually blocked head-on by Yanagi's power. Even if it was a tailed beast, he had seen with his own eyes that it had no power to resist the third Hokage's dust release. Well, third Tsuchikage-sama, this move of mine is pretty good, isn't it? Yanagi was very proud when he saw that his newly developed Raise Nan was able to directly resist the power of dust release. After all, this was a ninjutsu that he had truly researched. The wooden man under Yanagi's feet did not stop his actions. Its huge fist smashed towards the third Tsuchikage like a mountain falling down. Kid, it's not bad. Looks like I have to be serious today. Earth escape technique, Gangli style. Even the continuous use of high-level ninjutsu such as Kekii elimination is a huge burden for Onoki, but as a Tsuchikage, he has more than just dust release. As Noki completed the hand seal, he poured the chakra in his body into the ground, and the ground beneath his feet began to turn, as if responding to his call. A rock man slightly smaller than the wooden man rose from the ground. It was made of solid rock, and every inch of it exuded the power of the earth. The rock man steadily caught the wooden man's punch. Two huge figures confronted each other on the battlefield, one was a masterpiece of wood escape, and the other was the incarnation of earth escape. Onoki, the power of wood release cannot be matched by a piece of rotten stone like this. Little devil, you won't know until you fight. Boom! The two huge giants collided with each other, making a deafening noise. The duel between the wooden man and the rock man was like a collision of natural forces, and every confrontation stirred up dust and gravel. But compared to the wooden man's technique, the rock man's earth escape technique is still slightly inferior. After several fierce collisions, the rock man was finally defeated by the wooden man's strength and was knocked away by his punch. He fell heavily in the distance, stirring up a cloud of dust. The third Tsuchikage Onoki, who was on Iwate's shoulder, stared at Yanagi in the distance with a sharp gaze. His voice penetrated the hustle and bustle of the battlefield. Kid, I have a piece of advice for you. Yanagi raised his eyebrows slightly and responded, what? Next time you encounter a strong enemy, don't play around. You'll die. Earth style, rock arm. A huge rock arm suddenly stretched out from the ground, like a guardian of the underground awakening, and grabbed the wooden man with amazing speed and strength. I have always been able to catch others with the help of wood release, but I didn't expect that today I would be caught by someone else. This is simply a rebellion against the heavenly power. Chan escape, the art of boundary peeling. He quickly formed seals with his hands, and a dazzling white light burst out with Yanagi as the center, forming an energy ball cube. The power contained in it is enough to turn all matter into nothingness. As the ultimate move of dust release, the limit stripping technique far exceeds the original realm stripping technique. Chapter 114. It's over. Unaki, panting, looked at the huge explosion caused by the dust release, limit separation technique in the distance and felt relieved. Under this move, no matter how much potential Konoha's young shoots have, and no matter how powerful wood release and the nine tails are, there is no way they can survive. Dead. This Shura is finally dead. Xiao's face was distorted with joy, and there was a sense of relief in his voice. Yanagi. How could it be? Jiraiya and others witnessed Yanagi, who had originally had the upper hand, suddenly suffer a devastating blow from dust release. Their hearts were filled with shock and disbelief. Impossible. Yanagi, there is no way he can die, he is so strong. Yakang's tears flowed uncontrollably, her voice was filled with despair and a firm refusal to accept reality. Yakang's body ran uncontrollably towards Yanagi. He was obviously so strong, he would not die and would definitely be alive. Girl, give up. My dust release, limit separation technique has such a large range that it is enough to destroy everything here. Even a space ninjutsu will not be able to stop it in one move. This brat is dead. The third Tsuchikage Onoki did not attack Yekara. In his opinion, only Yanagi's potential was worth his desperate efforts to destroy him. Now that Yanagi had been destroyed, the only thing left was to end this war. However, at this moment, a voice came from the center of the explosion, breaking the silence on the battlefield, so confident. Old man, haven't you heard of the law of smoke without injury? The voice was clear and firm, with a hint of joking in it, and it made everyone's heart tremble. He's still alive. Impossible. An expression of disbelief appeared on Xiao's face, and his heart was filled with shock and panic. It's Yanagi. There was a hint of surprise and relief in Jiraiya's voice. This brat was still alive. He almost had to commit seppuku to apologize to Tsunade. Yanagi. That's great. Yakang's tears turned into tears of joy, her steps became more determined, and she ran towards the center of the explosion. How is it possible? You can actually survive the limit stripping technique. There was an undisguised shock in Nokia's voice, and his heart was filled with unprecedented waves. You really taught me a good lesson. You are so insidious that you hid a rock clone underground while performing the earth escape, Gangly-style technique. There was a hint of admiration in Yanagi's voice, as well as recognition of Nokia's strategy. No wonder he could live so long. While other third-generation leaders died early, the third Tsuchikage of Iwagakure lived until the Boruto era. As the sound got closer, a huge emerald green figure appeared in the dust. This is... Cold sweat began to flow down Nokia's forehead, and that figure was reflected in his eyes, and the shock in his heart was beyond words. Correct. Absolutely nothing wrong. It's a little different, but that's the trick. That night that he will never forget, the ability of that Shura in the ninja world. Susanoo. Unaki almost uttered these 4 words through gritted teeth. This is the power of the Uchiha's Mangeki Sharingan. But isn't Yanagi from the Senju clan? Jiraiya's heart was filled with shock and confusion. He knew that Yanagi was not a member of the Uchiha clan, but he showed the unique power of the Uchiha clan. Wait, Konoha's black-haired boy, the power of the Uchiha clan. Jiraiya's thoughts turned rapidly, and a possibility emerged in his mind. Could this black-haired boy, Yanagi, be the person predicted by the great Toad Sage not long ago? The one who can have a huge impact on the ninja world like the child of prophecy. I finally found it. To reward your excellence, I will grant you the right to dance. He looked at the third Tsuchikage in the distance, his heart surging with emotions. If it weren't for the ability of his Mangeki Sharingan that came into play at the critical moment this time, he might have really been defeated in this battle. Maybe the next time I wake up, it will be some dream maker who wakes me up, or maybe I will be woken up by a minotaur. Kid. You won't be so lucky next time. The old man was merciless in his words, but it must be said that the move just now was the last chance to kill Yanagi. Now Yanagi is on guard against him, and there is also the power of the Mangeki Sharingan, whose details are unclear. Unaki realized that unless he and Yanagi had a life-and-death fight, it would be difficult to have another chance to kill Yanagi. But such a battle was also full of risks for him. Before finding a successor who could take care of the future of Iwagakure, he could not allow himself to encounter any accidents. Iwagakure retreat. Onoki gave the order. Although he was harsh in words, he knew when to advance and when to retreat. He had to preserve his strength for the future of Iwagakure village and for his own safety. Don't go, old thief. Take my Susanoo wooden man trap technique. He couldn't tolerate Onoki's easy retreat, especially when he was still holding his breath. Could these shadows have some manners? Only a fool would stand there. Dust release. Original world separation technique. Since the decision to retreat has been made, Noki will never hesitate. If he stays, he can only exchange one person with Yanagi, but his own Iwagakure village might be destroyed. In Nokia's hands, the dust release chakra formed by the fusion of the 3 properties of wind, earth, and fire gathered, an array of white light shot out from his hands like a meteor across the night sky. Old man, your aim is not good. Are you in a hurry to escape? It's so off target. Yanagi mocked. He saw that the white light did not fly towards him, but passed by him from a distance. I know, look who I'm beating, little brat. There was a hint of cunning in Nokia's voice. After he finished speaking, he flew away from the battlefield without looking back. Mean. Yanagi's roar was heard, and he followed Unaki's gaze, only to find that the target of dust release was Yekang, who was closest to the battlefield. Should we save Yekang or chase the third Tsuchikage? Looking at the rapidly approaching dust release, Yekang's blood seemed to stop flowing, and his eyes were fixed on the willow tree in the distance. Will you come to save me? Will I die? I am just a hostile outsider. Finally, in despair, Yekang chose to close her eyes. Facing the power of bloodline elimination, any struggle was futile. Her body was tense, ready to face the impending fate. It's over, my life. Yekang, who had been waiting for a long time, did not feel any physical pain. It was probably the power of dust escape that destroyed him in an instant. Unfortunately, he did not come after all. Hey! Idiot, haven't you had enough of slacking off yet? This is... Yekang opened his eyes and saw a pair of eyes flowing with blood and tears. It's great to be alive. Between life and death, Yekang felt his eyes blurred. Chapter 115. Yekang's health is not good. She needs to be nourished. Let's get her some good food someday. Yanagi looked at Yekang who fell into his arms again, and sighed that life in the ninja world was really hard. Not only did they have to fight for life and death at a young age, but they also had to go to the battlefield even when they had their period. In consideration of Yakang's concern for him just now, Yanagi decided to give the child some supplements. Yanagi, what are you doing? Luo Sha's voice interrupted Yanagi's thoughts. After solving the problem of Iwagakuer, Luo Sha wanted to express his gratitude to Yanagi. Although this crisis was caused by Yanagi to some extent, he is strong enough, but the scene before us. I'm very happy that you helped to solve the problem of Iwagakuer, Xiao Luo, but you're almost taking away the genius of my sand village. It seems that I, Xiao Luo, can't do anything about it. Sorry, Yakang seemed to have been frightened just now and fainted. Yanagi explained lightly. He carefully picked up Yakang from his arms and handed him to Jialuo Luo. After this time, there shouldn't be any more problems in Tsunagakuer. I hope you can fulfill your promise to Konoha as soon as possible and don't let me down. There was a hint of unquestionable seriousness in Yanagi's voice. No, we in Tsunagakuer keep our word. Luo Sha answered decisively. Although he was somewhat reluctant about those terms, the current Konoha was indeed not something that Tsunagakuer could contend with. Even their own Kazekage had been captured. The situation was stronger than the person. Very good, this will benefit everyone. You should implement it as soon as possible, and then select an envoy to go to Konoha with us to report to the third Hokage. Jiraiya said it succinctly, and then he pulled Yanagi away. Although the matter at hand was important, the overall situation had been decided after all, but he hadn't figured out the matter on his side yet. Okay, yeah, stop pretending, they've all left. After parting with Luo Sha and the others, Jialuo whispered softly in Yakang's ear. Others might not be able to see it, but as a good friend for many years, Jialuo saw through Yakang's little trick at a glance. Sure enough, Yakang quietly opened his eyes, looked around, and after confirming that no one was around, he blushed and said softly, I'm really embarrassed. It's so embarrassing. Another accident happened. Again? You had an accident with him before. Jialuo Luo immediately caught the loophole in Yakang's words. It's nothing serious, don't worry, it's just a small accident. Yakang avoided Jialu Luo's sight, but in his heart he recalled the series of accidents that happened in front of Yanagi in the past few days, especially that morning. Thinking of this, Yakang felt his cheeks getting hotter. Yet, Jialuo hesitated to speak. What's wrong? Yakang looked at his best friend who was always gentle, and it was rare to see her looking so conflicted. Are you in love with Yanagi? Although Jialuo felt embarrassed, he still plucked up the courage to ask the question for the future of his good friend. How is it possible? I don't like that guy. Yakang hurriedly explained, but did not notice that the girlish habits she had changed since entering the ninja school had returned. This unintentional revelation may have revealed the secret in her heart. You can fool yourself, but you can't fool me, yet. Although Jialuo's voice was gentle, Yakang had to face the reality, even if it would make her painful. Yanagi is a Konoha man after all. Our sand village suffered such a big loss at his hands this time. When Master Kazekage comes back, he will definitely not let it go. There was a trace of confusion and helplessness in Yakang's eyes. She knew that what Jialuo said was true. The conflict between Tsunagakuer and Konoha is like an insurmountable gap. I understand that there will be a war between Tsunagakuer and Konoha sooner or later. Yakang's voice was low and weak. But why do we have to fight? Her heart was full of questions and confusions. This was her long-standing worry and the reality she had been avoiding. I had no worries before, so I just had to follow orders and move forward, but now that I had someone in my heart, I began to hate war. Jialuo sighed softly. She knew how Yakang felt, but as ninjas, they had to accept the cruelty of this world. She patted Yakang's shoulder gently, trying to give her some comfort. After Jiraiya dragged Yanagi back to their residence, he couldn't wait to ask, Yanagi, was that Uchiha's Sharingan? Brother Jiraiya, it is the Sharingan for sure. Yanagi answered calmly, although he didn't want to reveal the secret so early. But it was his fault that he underestimated the strength of the cage, and as a result, he almost lost to the third Tsuchikage Onoki, and was forced to use the power of the Manjiki, otherwise he wouldn't know when he would open his eyes next time. Did your Senju clan have an intermarriage with the Uchiha clan in the past? Jiraiya's curiosity was completely aroused. Yanagi scratched his head and answered awkwardly, I don't know about that. Anyway, after that incident with Sister Tsunade, I found that I had awakened the Sharingan. He knew in his heart that the Sharingan he possessed was actually the result of blood purification, but this secret could not be revealed easily. He could only accept that he was a kid with half Uchiha blood, and wondered in his heart whether he would be beaten by Senju Tobirama when he met him in the future. After all, he was of the Senju bloodline and as a result he had the evil Uchiha bloodline limit. But when he thought about it, Tobirama couldn't beat him, he felt relieved. Which time? This is very consistent with the Uchiha clan opening their eyes due to strong emotional stimulation. Jiraiya stroked his chin with his hand, lost in memories. He recalled the disastrous defeat of the Sunin, and his heart was filled with emotion. If Yanagi had not come to their rescue in time, they might have died. Although it had been a while since that experience, it was still vivid in my mind. And many more. How long ago was that time? Jiraiya suddenly widened his eyes and looked at Yanagi in disbelief. You awakened it then? And now you've awakened it after all these years, when even so many people in the Uchiha clan haven't awakened their Manjiki Sharingan yet. Yanagi smiled slightly, as if he was not surprised by Jiraiya's surprise. Maybe I have a better talent for awakening. But I was secretly proud in my heart, although it was the system that helped me, the system is mine, which means I awakened by myself, there is nothing wrong with it. What a monster! No wonder you are the one predicted by the great Toad Immortal. Jiraiya thought that in addition to the power of the Manjiki Sharingan, Yanagishita also had the wood release of the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama. The power of the god of ninja and the Shura of the ninja world are both in one person's body. No wonder Yanagi is so important in the prophecy of the Great Toad Sage. The Prophecy of the Great Toad Immortal. Chapter 116. The person predicted by the Great Toad Immortal? Me. Yanagi pointed at himself and thought to himself, isn't the child of prophecy Naruto? Could it be that because of his appearance, Naruto's existence was erased? He couldn't help but fall into deep thought, thinking about the fact that Kushina and Minato couldn't be together because of their relationship with him. He secretly joked in his heart, after all, according to Arzalong's words, mine and mine are all mine. These girls are all mine. The power of the Nine Tails was also sealed in his body. Unless he himself wanted to, no one could take the power of the Nine Tails away from him. Especially during the period after awakening the eternal Manjiki, Yanagi could clearly feel that under the dual nourishment of the sage body and the Otsutsuki bloodline power, the eyes in his eye sockets were rapidly transforming. When the day comes that his eyes have truly evolved, even Uchiha Madara will not be able to take away the power of the tailed beast from his body. Yes, the great Toad Sage once predicted the child of prophecy a long time ago. I have been looking for this person in the ninja world. Jiraiya looked deeply at Yanagi, his eyes full of emotion and relief, but not long ago, the old man predicted another person in his dream, that is you. There was a sense of fatalism in Jiraiya's words, as if after a long search, he had finally found the answer. He once hoped that Yanagi was the son of prophecy, and now, knowing that Yanagi had become the one prophesied, he felt more relieved. Yanagi was still very reliable and there was no need to worry about the peace in the ninja world. How did you know it was mine? The great Toad Sage said that it was a black-haired boy with a Konoha forehead protector and a Manjiki Sharingan, Jiraiya explained with a hint of relief in his tone, I was planning to go to the Uchiha clan and investigate after the war. In the end, it was really what you said, after searching everywhere for something, it was easy to find it. Yanagi nodded slightly, but his heart was filled with ripples. He recalled what the great sage of the slug had said. Since his time travel was no secret to the sage of the Six Paths, then Gamamaru, who had a close relationship with the Six Paths, should know about it. So, knowing all this, why did he weave the identity of the prophet? The sage of the Six Paths never cared about him. Was it really because he couldn't interfere in the ninja world, or did he have a deeper plan? He recalled the plot in the original work, where the Sage of Six Paths once claimed that he could not interfere in the affairs of the ninja world, and then he turned around and sent Naruto and Sasuke to the level of Six Paths. He sealed his mother without even doing anything. Even Kagaya Otsutsuki, the Chakra ancestor of the bloodline network, arranged it so easily. This Six Paths sage is really not reassuring. I always feel that he must have some plan for me. But no matter what the Six Paths sage's plan is, whether it is good or bad, as long as you are strong enough, it doesn't matter, and you can break all conspiracies and tricks with force. Jiraiya looked at Yanagi with a serious face. Yanagi, I want to hear your opinion on the ninja world, this is very important. Yanagi looked Jiraiya in the eyes seriously, it's simple, I think the ninja world is sick. Sick? In the ninja world? Jiraiya looked confused, he didn't understand what disease Yanagishita was referring to. Yanagi continued, yes, in this world, the nobles are high up, they do not produce anything but can have enough food and clothing, the common people are lowly and humble, they work hard but can only have insufficient clothing. Ninjas clearly have the power to change the world, but they can only kill each other driven by interests. The ninja world clearly has technologies such as electricity, as well as ninjas with supernatural powers that can transform nature, but the daimyo system is backward in social form, which can allow everyone to live a life of plenty. The power we possess should not be used only for fighting and strife. The talents of ninjas and the potential of technology should be used to improve people's lives, eliminate the gap between the rich and the poor, and allow everyone to enjoy the fruits of the progress of the ninja world. After hearing this, Jiraiya took a deep breath, was silent for a moment, and then slowly spoke, your idea is really too bold. But if it can be realized, it will definitely be great, but how to do it? To achieve this goal, we must achieve the most basic goal, which is to have unified command. Yanagi's voice was firm and powerful, and his eyes flashed with a clear vision of the future. After hearing Yanagi's goal, Jiraiya now understood why Yanagi became the person predicted by the great Toad Sage. His goal was to unify the ninja world. Jiraiya frowned tightly. Unification requires war, and war means sacrifice. Do we have to resort to war? Jiraiya's tone was filled with a hint of reluctance and doubt. Yanagi found Jiraiya's naivety funny. Although Jiraiya's personality in the animation was very interesting, this was reality, and peace was a false proposition in reality. There will be no such thing as peaceful reunification. We can only abandon illusions and reunify by force. But we can try to minimize the sacrifices. Is there necessarily going to be sacrifice? Can't we just live in harmony with each other? Jiraiya's eyes sparkled with a yearning for peace, and his voice revealed a deep expectation. Yanagi sighed softly. He knew that Jiraiya's ideal was beautiful, but the reality was far more cruel than the ideal. The root cause of war in the ninja world is the uneven distribution of benefits. Our land of fire has a pleasant climate and abundant resources, so perhaps we can enjoy a peaceful life. But what about the countries like the wind country and the rain country? Can they do it? They need supplies to be allocated, but will the daimyo allow it? The nobles don't even have the kindness to help the civilians in their own country, let alone care about other countries. Jiraiya remained silent. He knew that although Yanagishita's words were harsh, they were indisputable facts. As someone who traveled frequently in the ninja world, he undoubtedly had the best understanding of this point. Seeing Jiraiya begin to hesitate, Yanagi continued to increase his strength. If we choose to let everyone live in this sick world because we are afraid of sacrifice, is that right? To unify, to reform, the ninja world will lose only the shackles of the nobility, and gain a positive and optimistic world. Jiraiya's blood boiled at Yanagi's words, but as a ninja he quickly controlled his emotions. Yanagi, what you said really has a great impact. Let me think about it carefully. I advise you to think it over carefully as well. Of course, we still have to cross the river by feeling the stones. We can't do things without considering the reality of the ninja world. Yanagi smiled slightly. Anyway, the seeds have been planted, and they will bear fruit sooner or later. By the way, brother Jiraiya, let me tell you, I have a few good ones ready to introduce to you as apprentices. Chapter 117. Why are you pushing for this kind of thing? The old man has mentioned it several times. It's because you haven't trained any talents for the village. Yanagi rolled his eyes at Jiraiya. Orochimaru accepted Nawaki, and although Tsunade did not formally accept a disciple, she trained countless medical ninjas. Moreover, to some extent, Yanagi was also trained by Tsunade. On the other hand, Jiraiya, who is also one of the three ninjas, would run around everywhere looking for the child of prophecy under the pretext of traveling around the ninja world to look for materials. He had neither a partner nor a disciple. The third Hokage was very worried that he would be destined to be alone. Jiraiya scratched the back of his head awkwardly and laughed dryly, haha, well, it seems so, but I already have a candidate spot. Yanagi asked suspiciously, oh? Are you talking about Minato Namikaze? Hey, you know Minato too? Jiraiya seemed a little surprised. Yeah. He and Kushina are classmates and I've met them a few times before. Yanagi felt some complicated emotions when he recalled the hedgehog-haired boy. How about it, not bad, right? I think he will definitely become the pillar of the village. Jiraiya looked at Yanagi with a proud look on his face. Indeed, he is a good candidate who is worth training. If he can acquire the appropriate ninjutsu, he might be able to surpass you, brother Jiraiya. Although Yanagi had some opinions about Minato, it was only because of Kushina. Yanagi admitted that Minato's ability and potential were actually quite good and he was very dedicated to his duties in the village, but unfortunately he ultimately failed his family. Jiraiya sighed, you can say that too. Actually, I found him on the battlefield before, but I couldn't find his family, so I had to bring him back to Konoha. I didn't expect that he would become my disciple right away. Jiraiya sighed, you can say that too. Actually, I found him on the battlefield before, but I couldn't find his family, so I had to bring him back to Konoha. I didn't expect that he would become my disciple right away. Then brother Jiraiya, do you still want a disciple? Just tell me and I'll send one to you right away. Yanagi said half-jokingly. Oh, yes, who are you going to recommend? I won't accept ordinary people. Jiraiya asked curiously. Since Yanagishita knew that he was going to accept Minato and was planning to recommend him to him, it might be a surprise. Are you talking about Yahiko, Konan, and Nagato? I thought you were going to take them with you yourself. Jiraiya recalled the three children from the Rain Country. I'm not even an adult myself, how can I take care of others? Yanagi responded half-jokingly, he actually thought Jiraiya had done a good job in training his apprentice in the original time and space, and it would be a good choice to continue to let Jiraiya train him. So you want to give them to me? Jiraiya thought of the three people he had met before. They were all newcomers with great potential, especially Nagato. He always felt a special feeling from him. Yes, that's what I think. Brother Jiraiya, you must be good at teaching your disciples. Yanagi said half-flatteringly and half-seriously. Jiraiya was indeed very good at training his disciples in the original time and space, and all his disciples became successful. Jiraiya pondered for a moment, then smiled and said, you are a good judge of vision. If they are willing, I will accept them. Standing in front of the gate of Konohagakure village, Yakang's mood was complicated and deep. This place was both familiar and strange to her. Facing the same gate, she knew that her situation and mood had changed drastically. I didn't expect they would arrange for you to come to Konoha. I thought they would arrange for Garuru to come. Yanagi stopped and looked at Yakang who didn't say a word. What? I'm not welcome. Yakang raised her head, and a trace of fluctuation flashed in her eyes. Since the long talk with Jialuo Luo late at night, her attitude towards Yanagi has become much calmer, but when she heard such words, she couldn't help but feel a little entangled. No, you are welcome to do so. It's just that you are not in good health, so I didn't expect it. Yanagi realized that he seemed to have said something taboo and quickly comforted Yakang. It was just an accident. Now, let's finish our business, there's still a lot of things to do in the Sand Village. Yakang blushed as she finished speaking, then turned around and strode forward. However, her steps were quickly stopped by two insignificant gatekeepers of Konoha. No surprise, you two. This is Miss Yakang, the Sand Village messenger I brought with me. I have just gone to inform the third Hokage. Yanagi quickly stepped forward, grabbed Yakang, and explained the situation to the guards. Lord Yanagi. Since you brought it here, there must be no problem. Please come in. The guard's attitude changed immediately and he respectfully made way. Okay, thank you. Yakang, let's go. Yanagi nodded to the guard, then turned to Yakang and motioned for her to continue. I didn't expect Lord Yanagi to come back so early. One of the guards whispered. Yes, the youngest candidate for Hokage. I heard from my eldest cousin that Lord Yanagi is most likely to become the youngest Hokage. Another person also joined the discussion. This gentleman seems to be very close to that beautiful lady from Tsunagakure. Since ancient times, beauties have loved heroes. Moreover, our Lord Yanagi is so handsome. If I were a woman, I would like him too. Uncle Sande. The third Hokage-sama. Yanagi and Hagura walked into the Hokage's office building. Sarutobi Hiruzen raised his head and saw Yanagi and Yakura, with a gentle smile on his face. Yashishita, you are back. You have completed the mission well this time. He greeted Yanagi with a smile, then turned to Yakura with a look of approval in his eyes. You are Yakura from Tsunagakure, right? Your performance in the Chunin exam is still fresh in my mind. You are a child with great potential. Third Hokage, this is the official handover document of our Sand Village. I hand it to you on behalf of the Sand Village. Yeking took out a document from the sealed scroll behind her, and her movements were respectful and cautious as she handed it to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Very good. It is a great blessing for the ninja world that Sand Village and Konoha can reconcile after going through so much hardship. The third Hokage took the document, his eyes revealing his cherishment for peace, and handed it to the Anbu beside him, continuing to speak in an official tone. Then Hokage-sama, our Kazekage-sama, several elders, and the ninjas of Tsunagakure. Of course, of course. Since we live in peace, after the Konoha celebration is over, the people from your village will naturally go back. I'm sure you don't want to miss this grand ceremony. The third Hokage gently twirled his beard and answered with a smile. Celebration? Uncle Sanda, when did we have so many celebrations in Konoha recently? Yanagi seemed a little surprised. He was curious about this sudden celebration. You didn't have it before, but now you have it. Your Hokage succession celebration. Chapter 118. What? Whose celebration? Yanagi felt as if he had entered into an illusion at some point. You heard it right, it's yours. This matter has been certified by the village and the daimyo. Although the Jonin vote has not yet been held, you will have no problem. The third Hokage looked at Yanagi's expression of disbelief, a hint of a smile of a successful prank flashed in his eyes, but he quickly returned to his seriousness as if nothing had happened. What about me? Why doesn't anyone ask me? Yanagi pointed at himself in confusion, although he had always wanted to become Hokage, it all happened too suddenly and caught him off guard. That's not important. What's important is, Yanagi, the village needs your contribution. Uncle Sarutobi, why is it so sudden? Isn't the war over yet? The war in Konoha is over, but as the Hokage, I have an unshirkable responsibility for the tactical command error this time. I choose to resign. The third Hokage stated his decision with no sadness on his face, only relief and ease. How could that be? Didn't we win big these few times? Yanagi felt even more confused. They had clearly achieved a complete victory in the battle against Tsunagakure and Uegakure, so how could there be a mistake in tactical command? Take a look at this and you'll know. The third Hokage's voice was a little heavy. He took out a document from the drawer. This document had obviously been prepared for a long time, and the edges of the paper seemed a little worn. Yanagi took the document and saw the words "Report on the damages of the Hidden Mist Village attack" written on the cover. He began to flip through it with curiosity and confusion, but as he read page by page, his face gradually became heavy. Why is it like this? Yanagi simply couldn't believe this fact. Konoha had suffered such heavy losses on the front line of the Hidden Mist Village. As the Hokage, I am responsible for the tactical command error in the Hidden Mist Village. This error is all my fault. The third Hokage turned and looked at the Hokage rock in the distance, holding a pipe in his mouth, and silently said to himself, "Teacher, is this really right for me? But why do people change so much?" Those little figures from the past eventually left with teacher Tobirama. "Congratulations, Yanagi." Yeking, who had been silent all the way, only spoke after the two of them walked out of the Hokage building. She didn't expect to hear such shocking news this time. The third Hokage resigned, and Yanagi was about to become the new Hokage? Even Yeking, an outsider, is not shy about it, so it must be a done deal. Thank you, I was surprised too. Yanagi always felt that something was wrong, but he still thanked Yeking. Why are you not happy about becoming Hokage? Yeking looked at Yanagi's thoughtful expression and felt a little puzzled. If she were to become the Kazekage, she might be too excited to control herself. There were just some surprises. Yanagi sighed softly, his mood was complicated, his instinct told him that this matter was definitely not as simple as it seemed on the surface, there must be deeper reasons behind it. Yanagi thought to himself, and the various experiences in Naruto anime and fan works told him that when he was in doubt, quantum mechanics, strange things that he couldn't figure out? Or bad things? Then Danzo must be involved. Before Yanagi stepped into the Thousand Hands clan's territory, he heard a few crisp shouts. Brother Yanagi is back. He raised his head from his thoughts and saw several small figures running towards him like arrows, and several black shadows jumped into his arms. Looking at the lively little figures hanging on his body, Yanagi shook his head helplessly, but a doting smile hung on the corner of his mouth. You guys, come down quickly, stop being so naughty. And you, Kushina, why are you joining in the fun? Come down quickly, there are guests here. It's okay, I don't mind. Yeking said with a smile, her eyes gently swept over each child, especially when she saw Kushina, who she had not seen for a long time. She couldn't help but feel a little emotional. Kushina has grown from a little girl into a graceful young lady. Her beautiful long red hair shines in the sun, and her pretty and lovely face is filled with youthfulness. Long time no see, Sister Yeking. After enjoying dinner at Uzumaki Naoki's house, Yanagi took Kushina and the three little ones of Nagato to the training ground. Brother Yanagi. We are very strong now. Yahiko wiped his nose and said to Yanagi confidently. Konan couldn't help but chuckle, her voice was clear and pleasant, that's right, we and the big sister have been invincible in the ninja school. Kushina, did you start a fight again in the ninja school? Yanagi held his forehead with his hand as he had a headache and asked helplessly. Ever since he suggested Kushina and Tsunade to learn the powerful punch, Kushina seemed to have unlocked her potential power. With Tsunade's inheritance and the Uzumaki sealing technique, she has become unbeatable in the ninja school. Yanagi reasonably suspected that even the special Jonin teacher of the ninja school might not be able to defeat her unless it was a life-and-death battle. Kushina stuck out her tongue and replied playfully, I just showed off my strength a little bit, Yanagi-kun. You know how annoying those people are. There are also some bad kids who always want to bully Nagato and the others. That's right. Konan and the others nodded their heads frantically in agreement, like chicks pecking at rice. Her movements were exaggerated and cute. Yanagi chuckled and shook his head. He knew Kushina's character and some of the situations in the ninja school. Okay, be gentle and don't hurt them. They are just immature and will be partners of the village in the future. Yanagi also knew about Kushina's situation. As she grew older, Kushina was like a sweet flower, attracting the attention of the group of little boys in the ninja school all the time. Those who understand know how little boys of this age express themselves. Forget it. Today we are short on time and have a heavy workload. We still have two things to do. First of all, I want to check if you have been slacking off while I was out recently. Before leaving, Yanagi carefully selected ninjutsu suitable for the three little ones to ensure that they could still make progress while he was away. For Yahiko, things were relatively simple. All Yanagi needed to do was to hand him the water jutsu training manual of Senju Tobirama. This manual contained the essence of water jutsu ninjutsu, which was enough to allow Yahiko to achieve something in water jutsu. Konan's situation is a little more complicated. Yanagi found a paper secret technique suitable for Konan to practice in the Rain Village. This is a unique ninjutsu that allows her to manipulate paper for attack and defense, which is very suitable for her agile fighting style. Among the three little ones, Nagato is the one that gives Yanagi the most headaches. Although his body came from the Uzumaki clan and possessed strong vitality and chakra control ability, Nagato's Rinnegan seemed to suppress his chakra to a certain extent. Yanagi didn't dare to move those eyes easily. After all, who knew what Uchiha Madara did to Nagato's Rinnegan? Fortunately, Nagato himself had a good talent in the 5 elements ninjutsu, and even after being suppressed, his chakra still exceeded that of ordinary people, so it was not a problem. Chapter 119. Water Escape. Great Waterfall Technique. As Nagato formed a seal, an enormous wave of water gushed out of his mouth and rushed towards Yanagi. The momentum seemed to submerge the entire training ground. Water Escape. Water Dragon Bullet Technique. Yahiko followed closely behind, and a majestic and domineering water dragon emerged from Nagato's water flow. Under Yahiko's control, it soared and circled, making a deafening roar and pointing directly at Yanagi. Yes, he knows how to use his own chakra advantages to make up for Yahiko's natural disadvantages. Yanagi secretly admired them in his heart. He knew that the children were trying to use their respective ninjutsu to the extreme. But this ninjutsu is not enough. Water Style. Water Dragon Continuous Bullet Technique. In an instant, 2 water dragons, nearly 1 meter thick and 5 meters long, appeared beside Yanagi. They appeared out of nowhere, one of them protected Yanagi, and the other rushed towards the water dragon summoned by Yahiko. The 2 dragons fought in the air, making a loud rumbling sound. As expected of you, brother Yanagi. But it's not over yet. Secret Technique. The art of the goddess scattering flowers. Konan's figure appeared above the river, and the pieces of paper in her hand flew all over the sky like flowers scattered by a fairy. This prodigal child actually threw out so many explosive talismans during the competition. Yanagi laughed in his heart. He saw through Konan's tactics at a glance. But using the paper clone technique to get close to the enemy and then using the explosive talisman to kill with one blow is still a good idea. Yanagi looked at the detonating talismans around him and understood their tactics in an instant. He had to admit that these three little guys were indeed very thoughtful. Unfortunately, you still have too few explosive talismans to control. Water escape. Water array wall. Yanagi opened his mouth and spit out a stream of water, which flowed rapidly around him, forming a solid water wall that protected him firmly. Boom! The explosion of the detonating talisman shook the training ground. Flames shot up into the sky and turned into an exploding heat wave, which slammed into the water array wall under the willow tree like a bell. The heat wave and the water flow intertwined to form clusters of rising water mist. This is simply cheating. I'm so fast, but Brother Yanagi completed the water array wall before me. Konan pouted and complained dissatisfiedly. She looked at the nearly intact water array wall, and thought about the detonating talisman she had bought with her monthly pocket money. There was only one word in her mind: pain. Don't blame me. I told you to pay more attention to the practice of hand seals. I didn't use a hand seal speed that exceeds that of a chunin. Yanagi's voice came through the gradually falling water with a hint of teasing. Humph, Brother Yanagi, don't think we've lost now. Don't underestimate our bond. Konan snorted arrogantly. Call out. At this moment, a figure suddenly rushed out from the ground and punched directly at the lower part of Yanagi. The speed was so fast that people were caught off guard. Oh my god, so insidious. Kushina, don't you want happiness for the rest of your life? Boom. Although Yanagi was complaining in his heart, he still maintained a calm image on the surface. He nimbly dodged Kushina's attack and calmly caught her straight punch with his right hand. However, Kushina's huge strength forced him to be pushed into the sky, as if he was pushed to the sky by an irresistible force. In this split second, Yahiko and Nagato seized the opportunity. Now! Compound ninjutsu! Thunder and Water Dragon Bullet! The two shouted in unison. With their combined efforts, a water dragon with lightning wrapped around its head formed above the training ground. It roared, and with the power of thunder and lightning and water, it pounced swiftly at Nawaki in the air and grabbed his body tightly. 1. 4 voices sounded at the same time, full of joy and excitement. Amid cheers, Yanagi, who was caught by the Thunder Water Dragon Bullet, immediately turned into a wisp of white smoke. But the real Yanagi leisurely fell down from a nearby tree, holding half a cucumber in his hand. Yes, you have reached a new level in both the use of ninjutsu and tactical coordination. Yanagi took a bite of the cucumber and continued, he has already reached a qualified level in the use of basic ninjutsu and tactical coordination. He is much stronger than Nawaki and Enka. Yanagi glanced at them approvingly. What surprised me even more is that you were able to develop the Thunder Water Dragon Bullet in such a short time. I just mentioned it casually. Brother Yanagi! Didn't you say this was a homework assignment? Yahiko cried out in grievance. He and Nagato had put in a tremendous amount of effort, even to the point of forgetting to eat and sleep. Even the third-generation adults were looked for by them several times, and they also conducted special research for a period of time, and this is the result they got. Is the result just a casual mention? Ah ha ha ha, that's because I'm afraid you guys will relax too much in the village and forget to study. Yanagi scratched the back of his head awkwardly. Besides, once you're under pressure, this is what will happen. Brother Yanagi, you have to compensate us. Yahiko immediately quit and demanded compensation. That's it. Konan also joined in the fun. Okay, how about I prepare a big dinner for you tonight? I'll cook it myself. Yanagi agreed with a smile. Great. It's been a long time since I've had your delicious food, Brother Yanagi. The 4 children cheered in unison. They praised Yanagi's cooking skills and looked forward to the feast in the evening. Then let's go. Yanagi said this and prepared to turn around and leave. He was secretly proud of himself. He had planned to cook for Yekeng himself tonight, and now he would take advantage of the children's inability to react and quickly slip away. Wait! Isn't it supposed to be tonight? And, Brother Yanagi, didn't you say there was one more thing? Yahiko suddenly realized something and was obviously not so easily fooled by Yanagi. Don't be so deceiving. Kushina and Konan also reacted and hugged Yanagi to prevent him from slipping away easily. It's just a joke. Tell me what you want. Seeing this, Yanagi turned back with a smile. His attitude was relaxed, as if it was not him who tried to sneak away. We hope that Brother Yanagi will be our teacher. The three little ones said in unison, their eyes full of anticipation and seriousness. What? Yanagi was really surprised. He didn't expect the children to make such a request. Brother Yanagi, don't you want to? Konan and his friends originally thought that Yanagi would be very happy to hear this request, but it was completely the opposite of what they imagined. They couldn't help feeling a little depressed. Could it be that Brother Yanagi despises us? No, of course not. It's just that I asked Brother Jiraiya to accept you, so you are a little surprised. However, this is your lifelong event. Think about it carefully. Jiraiya is a very suitable teacher for you. Don't rush to answer. Yanagi interrupted the few people who wanted to speak. What about you, Kushina? You wouldn't want to be my disciple too, would you? Yanagi looked at Kushina with a smile. No, of course not, I wish. Chapter 120. What do you wish for? As Kushina was speaking, her voice suddenly lowered, so low that even Yanagi couldn't hear her words clearly. Nothing. Anyway, you have fulfilled my wish, Brother Yanagi. I have nothing to desire now. Kushina smiled as bright as a flower, hugged Yanagi's arms in her arms, looking so happy, she no longer looked like the big sister of the ninja school. In a secret base somewhere in the land of fire, Danzo's voice revealed a hint of impatience as he anxiously waited for the experiment to begin. Billahu, why hasn't today's experiment started yet? I can't wait any longer. Danzo clenched his fists. Ever since he learned that Yanagi had returned to Konoha, he had felt an inexplicable pressure. Master Danzo, this experiment must be conducted at noon. Hirahu responded in a calm tone, his attitude revealing his rigor in the experiment and precise control of time. Very good, this experiment can really allow people to gain strength that surpasses that brat under Lu. Master Danzo. Please believe me. This experiment will definitely not fail. I have calculated all the data, and based on your information, I have also supplemented the yin and yang chakras. It will definitely not fail, absolutely. There was fanaticism in Hirahu's voice. He was full of confidence in his research. Whether it was for the ideals of the most respected Lord Danzo or for his own ambitions, he would not fail this time. I hope you won't disappoint me. Danzo closed his murderous eyes. He couldn't wait even for a moment. Danzo remembered that the traitor Senju Yanagi was becoming more and more powerful. Not long ago, there was news that he possessed the Uchiha's bloodline limit Sharingan. Rumor has it that Yanagi not only mastered the Sharingan, but also went a step further and awakened the power of the Uchiha clan's treasure, the Mangeki Sharingan. The power of those eyes has always been what Danzo dreamed of. He longed for the ability to influence the outcome of a battle and control life and death. I have already seen through the true face of that evil Uchiha Senju half-blood kid. In this ninja world, only he, Danzo Shimura, truly inherited the will of teacher Tobirama and understood the ambition and potential threat of that little brat Yanagi. And Sarutobi Hiruzen, the confused old man, not only did not realize this, he even decided to give the position of Hokage to that young brat. I have obviously influenced the intelligence of Kirigakure. Why didn't you choose to reuse me, Hiruzen? Danzo's heart was filled with anger and confusion. Why did you betray the will of Tobirama-sensei and hand over the position of Hokage to the traitor of Senju? To an Uchiha half-blood. Master Danzo. The time is almost up. Won't the other two elders come over to watch this experiment? Hirahu walked forward quietly and woke up Shimura Danzo, who was resting with his eyes closed. At the same time, he asked about the other two elders who came to observe the experiments from time to time. No, they were delayed as usual. Danzo explained impatiently, waving his hands. Those two idiots were not important at all. Well, don't delay any longer, let's get started. Yes, Lord Danzo. Please follow me. Hirahu responded respectfully. In his opinion, the two so-called elders were nothing more than speculators who were eager to gain power from his experiment. Whether they come or not is not important to him at all. In his heart, only Shimura Danzo is the one who truly realizes his own value. The two soon arrived at a secret platform on the top of the mountain, where a great evolutionary ceremony was to take place. On the platform at the top of the mountain, there is a circle of huge mirrors that are tens of meters high. These mirrors are not only huge in size, but also exquisitely crafted, standing there like works of art. They are carefully placed in specific positions and angles, as if to accurately focus every ray of light from the sky to the center point of the platform. As the sun rises higher, when the sunlight shines on the mirror, the mirror surface reflects a dazzling light and the light gradually becomes concentrated. The entire platform is filled with countless sealing techniques and experimental instruments. In the center of the platform, an unknown root ninja was sitting there quietly, and several unconscious ninjas were thrown aside casually. Lord Danzo. This is where the evolution experiment is held. Obaru's voice was full of fanaticism. He looked at everything in front of him, as if he saw the results of his many years of research about to be realized. The ninja world is about to complete the most glorious evolution before our eyes, evolving from the weak bodies of humans to become true gods. Bailuo's eyes sparkled with desire and belief in the success of the experiment, and his enthusiasm could almost ignite the air around him. Evolving from humans to gods. Danzo repeated Hiriko's words in a deep voice. Danzo stared at the ritual platform in front of him and examined the root ninja who was sitting nervously at the center of the ceremony. A bold idea came into his mind. You mean? I won't fail this time. Danzo stared at Bailuo, but in his eyes he saw the figures of Yanagi and others. Yes, Master Danzo. Obaru responded confidently, after this person's evolution is complete, he will gain the power of Storm Release, Dark Release, Swift Release, Crystal Release, as well as the Sharingan and Wood Release. He will become the most perfect ninja, the true god of ninja. The atmosphere in the Konoha Hokage's office was tense and heavy. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen stood behind his desk, facing his two old friends, Koharu and Kato-en, his face full of anger and disappointment. Koharu. Kato-en. The third Hokage's voice was like thunder, echoing in the office, tell me the truth. Where is Danzo? He is not in that room at all. Hiruzen originally went to find Danzo with a peaceful heart, hoping to reminisce with this old friend. Even I fantasize that the two of them can put aside their struggle for power and enjoy some simple and peaceful life together, sitting around a hot pot or fishing leisurely by the river, until that inevitable day comes and they once again give their lives for the village. However, when he arrived at Danzo's residence, he found that there was only Danzo Shimura disguised as a root ninja in the house. This discovery was like a heavy hammer, shattering his fantasy. Hiruzen, we. Koharu and Manan seemed a little uneasy in the face of Hiruzen's questioning. Don't tell me you don't know. Last time you teamed up to mislead the information of the Hidden Mist Village, don't think I don't know. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the two cowardly people and the anger in his heart was completely ignited. He had taken the blame for you three and paid so much, but in the end, one or two of them were still not honest. Maybe he went to the laboratory to watch Hirohu's experiment. Hirohu? How could it be him?